more illumination of the ugly guy. Not too bad. A little bit over here. Okay. Let's see, that side looks to be a little farther away from the camera. Let's see how that does. Doesn't seem to make much improvement. Maybe the camera's tipped a little bit. Oh, that's probably it. Yep. Okay. That's not too bad. Sound check, testing. 1, 2, 3. No, Jim's not here. I don't know why. So, anyhow, it's been a more fun week because we had a lot of things to do. Did a little tree trimming with Lauren, which was interesting and good exercise. I think he's got some stuff he's doing. I think they're starting to work up in the mountains now, getting things ready, and so that may be it. I know they've been up there a bit, but I'm not sure. He doesn't check in with me. I'm not his secretary, so I can't keep his schedule. Don't know. But yeah, it was an interesting week. It was. I had a better week than SpaceX. That was pretty wild. I really liked they had one drone shot from the south over the beach there. And when you see the thing just starting to take off, there's this giant splash out in the ocean where a big chunk of concrete landed. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Concrete needs stronger concrete. Oh my goodness. I love the way those guys work though. Is it ready? I don't know. Start it up and see. Nah, we need to work on that. They make it work though. I love it. Anyhow, let's see. So my brother is currently en route to Helena here. He's in Utah right now, still south of Salt Lake City, north of Cedar City, in that general area. He'll be here tomorrow, and we're going to get a little bit done out there at the ranch. I got word that they graded the road yesterday, or the day before yesterday, rather. So we should be able to get to the ranch and get a new door up and get the crane mounted on the Stoughton Ross so we can get that apart, and then load the RC46 on a flatbed and haul it back so that we can take it over to Lauren's and do a little work on that. Anyhow, say we got a number of things to do, and then Randy and I need to go fishing and see what's going. If they're biting, he may stay extra. If not, he probably has to take off. Well, I know his wife has an appointment out of town with a doctor like Monday, and so the plan is we'll check out the fishing. If it's just extraordinary, then they may postpone the appointment. So we shall see what we shall see. But I say that's the basic plan there. And let's see. The KD3 debacle, the residue left over when I attempted to redissolve it didn't dissolve cleanly. It may need something like hydrochloric acid or something like that. Cannot get a hold of the supplier. Tried emails, tried phone. For all I know, he's dead. He's like the rest of us, getting kind of on in years to some extent. So who knows? Maybe on vacation in the Caribbean. Who knows? Cannot get a hold of him. However, Tricky Dicky sent me an email which indicates that he understands how this works and is therefore very confident that there's at least 3 different methodologies I can use, which I can't describe because there may be confidentiality involved, that would do the job just fine. So I'm not terribly worried about the problem, especially as stannous chloride works, just not as well as the KD3. Hey, Shaggy. So it appears to be just another situation, not a problem. And we got a Harbor Freight little truck bed crane from Harbor Freight there, and the same one that I believe Chris said bent when they tried using it. So I haven't seen Chris show up yet, but I presume, looking at the crane and the way it's all built, it was probably right at the base of the vertical support. And the reason I say that is because basically you have a vertical support. Now it's on a 1/2-inch steel plate. That's a nice steel plate. So you got this tube, then there's a smaller tube inside it that comes up, and then the craney section, there's a hydraulic jack here, and then your arm with a winch. And I got these little teeny gussets down here. And so both Lauren and I agree that this is going to be your failure point here in all likelihood. That's the assumption. So what we'll do is we'll stick another tube inside this that holds just a little over 3 inches. And so we'll get a piece of tubing and probably split it and expand it a little bit to where it fits snugly. Weld up the seam a little bit and then weld it in place here. And we should have this joint reinforced enough to where it'll handle what we need without too much problem. So that'll be another video this week. Oh, let's see, where was I here? And Doug Pohl is working on some stuff where they're using Eco Goldex in a conical bottom tank, and they're just starting their testing. And one thing I want to comment, I mean, we're communicating back and forth stuff. It's good. Hey, Patriot. It's good to see someone taking to heart the lessons. Little tests first. For example, it's his assertion that the Eco Goldex works better with more aeration and a little higher temperatures, which, if it's using the ferrocyanide complex to make cyanide to attach to the gold, then that would make sense. Well, the issue with this, the problem with the triangular brace like here, is we need to be able to pick it and swing it. And so it needs to be equally strong in all directions. Larger gussets would definitely help, but we still got this relatively small, thinner wall tube here. And so it might also just start bending at the gussets. We're effectively going to at least double the wall thickness of the tube. So that should give us a pretty good thing. Both of those would increase the strength. We just suspect that, what is it, $17 worth of tubing will reinforce everything. I mean, for example, if we put some gussets here and this tubing here is still kind of thin, maybe it would just bend at the top of the gussets too. The force would just be moved up to here and then it would bend there. So let's say we just thought that reinforcing the entire tube would be the most robust fix and relatively easily. Hi, blind dude. So hey, David. So let's say that's the basic idea. The tube, the inner tube, which is 3-inch diameter, it has a gap about this side, this much on one side. When you slide it in there, how to weld at the bottom of the inner, it's got a hole in the base plate. I probably forgot to mention that. This base plate here has a hole in it, and the original tube is inserted halfway through the base plate, welded inside, and then welded outside, and the gussets are welded outside. I believe that, Lars. All except Betty. She comes looking for you. But anyhow, so that's why. So this seemed like a real simple solution. Just slide a tubing in there. It's a little bit small, not firm enough to what we'd like. So the plan right now is take like the plasma cutter and just plasma cut down the side. Take a couple of cold chisels or whatever and just kind of pry that apart a little bit to give it the outer diameter to where we get a pretty snug fit in here. There's a fairly thick paint coating in there so that when we drive it in, we got a little bit of slack where it can kind of shave off a little bit of paint if needed and give us a really snug fit. But that's the idea. Say we'll pry it open a little bit, get it where we think it'll work, put some tacks on it, grind them down, see how well that works, and then we'll go ahead and either skip weld or continuously weld the seam and then grind it down. We shall see. Yeah, Dave, and that's why, say, by inserting this tube, we don't weld anything above this spot right here. That's where all the new welding will be done, and that's inside this currently fabricated section. So I say I agree. Anytime you weld something, you create a dishomogeneity in the metal. You quite often induce a bit of embrittlement, but you always change the metallurgy right by the weld. And so this way, the welding is below the level of where we think the failure would probably be. And that's our evil plan. We'll see how well it works. And let's see. Oh, another thing that's interesting. For whatever reason, the algorithms have decided to start pushing my Where Does Gold Come From video again. And so I get the usual comments besides just, it looks good or whatever, enjoyed it. They have some questions or whatever. There's like 3. Number 1, there's the usual biblical thing where it's like, well, the earth isn't millions of years old. I don't know. I haven't been around. It looks like it's millions of years old, but theoretically God could build it however he wants it. Number 2, there's no gold comes from supernova. So that's one of the things that, well, it was a geology video, not an astrophysics. But anyhow, so the last guy that did that, gold comes from from exploding stars. My answer was essentially correct. Now, for extra credit, can you tell me which type of exploding star produces the majority of the gold? Is that a core collapse supernova or a neutron star merger supernova? So, anyone out there right now, go ahead and just if anyone knows, just type it in there. But as I said, for extra credit, I don't feel any older than 300 myself, Jeff. Uh, nope, it's not a core collapse supernova. It is a neutron star merger supernova. Don't know why. It's got to do with some intense theoretical physics. It uses numbers and weird things on blackboards. I don't even know what that symbol means. I'm sure there's calculus and differential equations and things and what is that? Quantum physics involved and relativity for everything I know. Hey, AAA beverages. So anyhow, no, that would be fake gold, Lars. Uh, but anyhow, for whatever reason, the typical supernova that we're familiar with, of a star gets old and gets all the fuel kind of gets burned up and then it collapses and then explodes. That's not what causes most of the gold. It's when two neutron stars spin together and merge. That's what creates most of the gold atoms in the universe, according to the modern theory. It's way above my head. I'll just take their word for it. If somebody comes up with a good reason why not, it ain't going to be me. Where are you at, Pokerface? Let everyone know approximately where said mine shaft is. But then the third thing that I get, which I find quite confusing, is gold is the frozen blood of uh, ancient giants that make the mountains or something like this. And I mean, I'm like, I don't even understand where that comes from. Although there's some.
And there were giants in the earth in those days.
Yeah.
It's a Bible thing.
And but anyhow, so this guy was, commented this week on that theory, and it's because he watched Mud Fossil University, and so I asked a couple of questions. I mean, I don't want to be rude to people, you know, but some ideas seem a little bit less likely than others. And so I asked, well, I've actually looked at these things. Why, if it was the frozen blood of ancient giants? Oh, and by the way, somebody did, I guess it was silicon based life form. So that these giants were silicon based life forms, even though we don't have any silicon based life that we can see now. But anyhow, I said, why then do gold veins vary so widely in their mineralogy and geochemistry? You would think a blood clot would be a blood clot, right? Anyhow, he went and deleted his post. Sunyab. What is Sunyab? Let me see. Sunyab. That's a weird acronym. Sunyab Employment, Sunyab Dental Clinic. Okay. That doesn't look like it's going to. State University in New York at Buffalo? Really? Okay, Poker Face. Any idea how deep said mine shaft is? Okay. Um, That's important. What kind of equipment do you have, like in rappelling gear and things like that, Jumars, etc.? Uh, how good is the ventilation? Hey, Tricky, thank you for the email. I responded. I asked you specifically, what is your methodology for making hydrazine hydrate? I know what Chris suggested last week. I presume it's probably the same, but I wanted to check. But anyhow, Poker Face, is there any ventilation? Can you feel a breeze going down or up the mine shaft? And if not, do you have gas detection and monitoring equipment? These are all important factors to consider. Um, I don't know about other people, but climbing a rope is not easy without Jumars. Hey, Flower Gold Wizards. I'm sure you guys are you're selling more now. Oh, joke of the day. What did Fox News say to Bud Light? Hold my beer. For those of you who don't know, they just fired Tucker Carlson, their most.
Hi, Flower Gold Wizard. Say hi to Mrs. Wizard for me.
Hydrazine sulfate crystals or hydrazine sulfate in solution. I think we tried hydrazine sulfate solution already, and it didn't seem to work too well. Did were you using? I know your suggestion was crystals, but I was wondering if you actually tried solution. It's a little easier to just add a drop of solution than a couple crystals or whatever. So, okay.
And what does he consider a couple of crystals?
Oh, I presume he's talking something like 1/100 of a gram or less. But anyhow, crystals directly, huh? Okay, we will try it. We were going to say, well, one of the safest ways to go down, one of the easiest ways, Poker Face, is to have a crane extended out there so that can just lower you, but with a backup system of getting to the surface. A good rappelling harness. And if you don't know what Jumars are, they're little cam-like devices that go one way on a rope but not the other once they're engaged. The easiest ones are the ones that fit on your feet. They kind of strap around your boots, and then you hook them up, and that makes it a lot easier to climb up. You do want to have like a carabiner or something up high on your body so that you can't fall back completely that way. But if you're going to do something like that, you want to practice not in a mine shaft. Okay, I've practiced just gotten a good tree, throwing a rope over a branch way up there. If you have trouble with that, take your fishing pole, throw a weight over the branch, then use that to pull a little messenger line, and then use that to pull the rope over, and then secure that, and then just go climbing up and down the tree, because it's stuff you need to learn, and it's stuff you need to be able to get out of safely while you're learning. You've got a number of different things. My typical thing is I will rappel down a rope and then have to Jumar back up. Not terribly difficult if you are up against the side of the shaft. Much more difficult if you're in open air. Like that one I did at Ryan's mine, where the rope goes, and then you're right in the middle of a big stope. I mean, immediately underground. You're literally just in air, and that is extremely strenuous to try and climb a rope when there's nothing you can brace your feet on, keep you from swinging, keep you from falling backwards, things like that. You're using your core a lot. And there was one time I was with, what's his name? Jason De Luisa over there near 29 Palms. And I was so tired, they were sitting there at the top. They'd already climbed out because they had foot Jumars and they were younger than me. And he said, "You want us to lower a line and help you out?" And I go, "Yeah, that sounds good." So they could take some of my weight off of me. But yeah, it can be very strenuous. You need to know your limits, and you need to be able to switch from rappelling to climbing in midair. Okay. Hey, Mr. Lodak, this is not something you want to experiment on where you can't just lower yourself to the ground. I don't think the TE is supposed to be in there, Lars. Yeah, young helps a lot. So anyhow, I say, make sure that you do plenty of practice in a safe situation first. Yes, you want to measure the bottom. You can also just take a GoPro and send it down on a fishing line too to get a better visibility on what's going down there before you actually put your body at risk. So that's another positive. If it's a truly vertical shaft, a good fishing pole 8 foot long or something, you should be able to just lower a GoPro and see what it looks like. Make sure you don't have anybody up top that could knock rocks down or anything like that. You might want to rake the surface back a little bit so there's no rocks that can fall down on you. And they will hurt real fast. And make sure that if you have a helper, he knows what he's doing. When I did my video, how to take representative samples, I had a guy with me that, is a friend, especially his videography and stuff. And when I needed to kind of shift positions to take another sample that wasn't videotaped, he was moving a bucket. The idea was, send me a bucket down on a rope so I can put the sample in that and then you can pull it up. Well, let's say he didn't know how to keep from knocking rocks down. Luckily, I saw what happened and just kicked myself out of the way and let it fall past me. Not sure if it can handle the temperatures. We need 2,000 degrees. I'm sure a kitchen cooktop doesn't have to withstand that. Whether it can or not, I don't know. It might be able to, but possibility. Another video that I'm working on right now is I'm making a mold for Lauren. That what I did was I made a plaster of Paris model of a floor covering, and for his kiln, he's got one of the original kilns. He hasn't abused it like we have, so he's got everything still OEM, and so it's actually bigger than ours because we modified it a bit to put horizontal elements in it. Anyhow, so I used that model to make a silicone mold. It's still curing a bit right now. I checked yesterday and some of the silicone still hadn't quite cured because I didn't do the put it in water with soap methodology to initiate and speed the cure, works quite well. But I didn't have a problem with time, so I just put it in there. stuff. But anyhow, so he will have a mold where all he has to do is mix up a pourable refractory, pour it in the mold, screed it off, let it harden, pull it out of the mold. There's a cook button. I would suggest having two, one in use and one as a spare. And then also, if you ever do spill something with gold, a lot of gold in it or something, hopefully the bottom has a ridge around it. So hopefully it'll catch that so you can then, recover it, scrape the bottom into a pan and something like that. So anyhow, theoretically, he'll be able to make a mold make a new bottom quick and cheap whenever he wants. I'm currently working on one for our kiln, which is a little, significantly smaller because of all the crap we've done to it. And another thing that Lauren had that I've never even heard of before, and maybe somebody out there knows exactly what it is. It's a stiffening agent for KO wool. This rock wool insulation sort of stuff. It's designed to be painted on, and it kind of binds it all together. And so I'm not sure what's in it. It says contains silica. It's from India. Okay. My guess is it's sodium silicate solution, so that as it evaporates, it leaves behind silica. That's my guess, but whatever. It was easy to paint on. I relined Eva's door and then painted this stuff on it and kind of pushed everything down. But that would be a beautiful product when you're trying to work on a kiln, and it's been used and it's kind of crumbly inside and all this other stuff. Paint that on. That'll kind of harden stuff up, and then you can work from there, because it's really hard to get stuff to adhere. Once you've fired your kiln a couple of times, that surface is just, the surface is crumbly, and that's not good to, try coating or anything like that. But yeah, that's an interesting product. Don't know what it costs. Don't know if Lauren's on tonight. Haven't seen him. If so, he might give us an idea. It was, I don't know, roughly a quart, maybe a little more. And so it's clear, and it has the viscosity of water, basically, maybe a little bit thicker, but I mean, not much. So it's just like painting water on there. Yeah, antenna towers will almost always have ladders built into them. Once you get to the lowest rung, they typically don't have them all the way to the ground, because young males with an excess of testosterone and possibly alcohol will do really stupid things if you make it easy on them. But yeah, it's nice. Lauren was trimming his dad's trees this weekend, and he's got a man lift, and so that made it pretty easy, because he was up pretty good elevation at times, 20 feet or something, cutting these trees. But that worked out well. And anyhow, I'm making a video on the kiln floor bottoms, and I did some repairs and maintenance to Eva's kiln too. So I say I've got that. Since it hasn't been, I didn't get it finished, didn't make a video, but I've got most of the footage ready once I'm done, and got a few more things. We got the crane video to do, and say we're going to be testing the KD3. So, I mean, say got a lot of stuff to do this week. Finally, I got a fairly busy week. Actually, I got a real busy week, because my brother's going to be here anytime, or we're not doing something really important. We're going to be fishing. Hopefully the fishing's good. It's right at that time of the year where it starts getting good. And it depends on water temperatures and stuff. And so it's really a crapshoot right now. But my brother's um, work schedule and stuff in Yuma pretty much narrowed it down to this week. And then in 3 weeks, my daughters and stuff will be here, so I'll have to go fishing some more. Horrors. Huh. Interesting, Tricky. Chris suggested taking the hydrazine sulfate in solution and then putting it through ion exchange resin to pull the sulfate away, leaving just hydrazine hydrate. To see whether or not it will work would be pretty easy. If you can send me a 4x4 inch square, John, I can definitely throw it in the oven and see what happens. Okay. Lauren said 2 quarts, $50. I guess that's $50 together a year ago. So that's a 2-quart bottle there. Gives you 3 times the life on your KO will. So yeah, I wish I'd known you had that stuff, Lauren, before I did the original repairs on the because that would have been perfect to just soak into that crumbly insulation there, so I could get the refractory to stick to it well. You got my mailing address, John? No problem, Tricky. Yeah, if we have any problems, we'll see. The easiest thing would be the hydrazine sulfate, which we have in stock, and I'll see about making both a fairly concentrated solution and just using the crystals themselves and see which works. It's kind of nice to have stuff in a dropper bottle where you can just drop it in, but that may not work for some reason. So I say we shall try and see what happens. Pretty sure the hydrazine sulfate is at the ranch, so that'll be Wednesday before we get it. Yeah, Wednesday should be out the ranch with my brother. Should be installing the crane and taking the Stutenroth apart. That'll be a nice video. Should be crawling into the conical bottom tank and removing the bottom debris on that, which should contain any coarse gold. So that'll be interesting. We're going to be hauling off the RC46 to Lawrence to do a little refurbishment, hanging a new door, and pumping off the precipitation from the pad and pond if it hasn't gotten contaminated with the solution underneath it. So, I say, we got lots to do. It's just been a matter of access. I'd have gotten a lot of this done already, but just couldn't get out there. The road was in horrible shape. Yeah, I say, I don't know how much gold is in that conical bottom tank. It may be a very effective method of capturing the coarse gold, because at the bottom of the conical bottom tank, we have this through fitting that comes up like that, and then there's, your pipes go in here. And when I'm running it to keep dirt from getting in, I put a cover plate on here. I got a piece of pipe that goes up there. I lower it down, center it, get that in there, and then keep it from, I pin it so it doesn't come up. And that way we have this area here that as all this stuff is churning, once a piece of gold gets down here, it ain't going to go anywhere. So the hope is that instead of having to put in a secondary coarse gold recovery circuit, that will be adequate. If you actually see the a specific procedure, Tricky, and could forward it to me, that would be great. But anyhow, I'm hoping that this circumstance here acts as an efficient coarse gold recovery system. Because again, that nothing can get into that hole while we're agitating for a day. So as all this stuff is being agitated, it's going to tend to grab the high density materials in here. So let's say once I can get into the tank again, I'll just take a dustpan and a bench brush, clean it all up and put it in a bucket or whatever, and then I can pan it out. So yeah, I got loads of stuff to do. Just haven't been able to get to anything to do it. Been a nice rest though, taking it easy, helping Lauren out a little bit. When you're helping Lauren out, you're not usually doing a whole lot of work unless there's a lot of simple physical work, like with the branches. He's cutting them, I'm throwing them into the Bobcat that his dad was driving. So I was able to stay busy then. But when he's working on stuff or whatever, quite often you're just like, handing him tools because he just dives right in. He's not the kind to let somebody else do something very easily. No problem, Tricky. No urgency. And so, as I say, it's one of those things that it's been a pretty slack 2 or 3 weeks here. Kind of rough on the wallet, but nothing serious. And now things should be opening up. Let me see what the weather looks like outside. Okay, the rain stopped for the moment. Oh, yeah, I still got that roof over 102 to recoat too. So that's something to. In the Philippines, John. I don't think he's supposed to give you much more specific than that. Maybe the island. What did you miss last week? I think it was a decent one last week, but not as good as the week before. What? Probably some of the viewers would have a better thing. Anybody that can give a good synopsis, tell Tricky, what did he miss last week? How about you, Dave? You're usually here like the whole night. But yeah, should be fun. Got lots to do. Today I went to the steel shop to get 21.5 inches of 3-inch tubing because the hole was, well, actually on this thing right here, this piece of tubing there measured exactly 3 inches outside. So we assumed that this hole in here was pretty close to exactly 3 inches. Now we know this has got to be metric, it's from China. But anyhow, we didn't bother to actually check this hole down here to see how big it was. But nevertheless, this was 3 inches, and we figured, okay, 3-inch tubing. If it is too tight to fit, we'll split it and kind of press fit it in there. So I go to the steel company. I say, I need some 3-inch I need 3-inch tubing, 21.5 inches long. And the lady goes, what wall thickness? And I go, I don't know. Let's take a look over here and I'll see what you got. So there's this piece of tubing on her display, says 3 inches on it. And I said, yeah, that wall thickness looks about right. She goes, oh, schedule 40, huh? So we go back to the counter. She writes me up 3-inch schedule, 40, 21.5 inches. Take it into the shop, get my piece, head out to Lauren's. And then I realized that during all this little thing, the 3-inch tubing had gotten converted into 3-inch iron pipe. For those of you who are not familiar, iron pipe is measured inside diameter and tubing is measured outside diameter. So I got to Lawrence, I got everything all cleaned up, deburred, ready to test fit. And it's like, holy crap, this is gigundous. Measure it 3.5 inches outside. And so back to the steel shop. Excuse me, we had a communications issue here. I need 3-inch OD. So they didn't have anything with 1/4-inch wall. They had 1/8-inch wall, which again is probably at least as thick as this stuff is. So we'll be doubling it. And I saved $17. I went from like 37 to $20. Yay. And go back to Lawrence, get it deburred, clang. It just slides right in. It's got about this much gap on the side. It's like, okay, so now we're going to have to expand the tubing to get a snug fit. Oh, well, such is life. That's what happens when you use metric. There's two kinds of countries in the world, those that use metric and those that have put men on the moon. But anyway, I would be willing to bet you, Tricky, that you got guys that can build stuff out of bamboo and sisal rope that would be engineering in any other country. Bamboo is a very interesting structural material if you know how to use it. So anyhow, I say tomorrow I'll get to work more on that. And I say we'll get that all fixed up, and we got to have it ready by Wednesday. So I'm capable of doing this kind of stuff, but it's Lauren's welders and things. So I think it's a matter of I'll help him work on the excavator, and then when he's doing some small stuff, I can work on grinding and such. Because I don't think Lauren really wants me to use his welders, and I don't blame him, because I'm sure even if he sets it, I'm gonna like get spatter on stuff that didn't need to be done. Yeah, Glenn, I agree. I say if you know what you're doing, it's a totally different type of building. But if you know what you're doing, those natural materials can do amazing things. Where's that Jim? I don't know, John. He didn't call me. He didn't report in. He didn't give me an excuse. He's just not here. So he's doing something.
His season.
Not sure exactly what he's doing, but he's doing something, I'm sure. He's okay. I talked to him about 3 days ago. So he's doing okay. He's busy doing something, not sure what. So anyhow, I say I've got loads to do this week, not much to report on last week. It'll be interesting to see what the situation is out at the ranch. It would be nice if this precipitation would stop so we could start drying the ore stockpile. We have a crushed ore stockpile out there, the coarse crushed ore, plenty for one batch sitting there under a tarp. But I suspect it's anything but dry after a winter being under the snow too. So we'll have to see what the situation is and see how much water's on top of the precipitation tarps and such. I just hate leaving something alone for months and not getting a look at it, because I just worry. I'm just a worry wart. Ask Eva, she'll tell you. A worrywart that makes bad puns. She's getting annoyed at my bad puns at times now. But anyhow, uh, that's about it. So I got a lot of stuff that I'm working on, nothing done, not much in the way of results. And we'll have to get busy so we can get some fun stuff for you guys to watch. I don't know. I don't have that many active viewers, but the people that are, I really like. And I like being able to interact with them one on one as much as possible. So I'm not trying to increase my thing here. By the way, let's just see, just for jollies, what are my stats right now? Because I know the algorithm has been originals. Do we have any? No, I don't want downloads. I guess I'm going to have to go to manage videos. And there's analytics there. I got 42,205 views in the last 28 days. Wow, I got plus 514 subscribers. So the algorithm promoting that channel. You see, it shows I got 21,292 subscribers, but I'll post a video and get 300 views in a week. So they're clearly not terribly active. I got 2,715 views in the last 48 hours, of which 1,467 were lesson 1. Where does gold come from? The next one is how to find load gold deposits. Then the KD3 went bye-bye. Let's see what else we got. Hand panning microfine gold. Still 100 in 2 days. 50 views a day. Representative samples, 75 in 2 days. Okay, how fast does microfine gold settle? That was a good one. Let's see, microwave smelting. Yeah, that was kind of fun. Hand panning microfine gold too.
Just out of curiosity, do you happen to remember whether you can keep the brown trout that you catch in Missoula if you catch brown trout over there?
I think the only place is the Jefferson River. Okay, but I do not know. Now let's see. Make sure I do not accidentally close the window we're on right now. And let me try something else. Search the web. Where does gold come from? Enter. Videos. Okay, I'm number 3 on Bing. Natural History Museum is number 2, although it's only got 7.4 thousand views, whereas I have 861.9 thousand views. So I guess that's got to be a new one. And then The Origins of Gold from David Lunny, which has been around a while, it's got 7.7 million views. So anyhow, I'm doing pretty good. Number 3 on Bing. Hey, Jim, how's it going? Wet and cold. See? Just because he's wet and cold. No, I saw that mentioned, but I didn't watch the whole video there, John. Yeah, the blue chip there. No rest for the wicked, huh? Then what's your excuse, Jim? Oh. So what have you been doing, Jim? You been up in the mountains or doing something else? Oh. Ugh. Snowing up. Yeah. Well, it's 45 down here, so that would make sense. Yes, this winter seems to be hanging on pretty long. Plus, it's not just the temperature. It seems like the precipitation keeps coming down. You know, last winter it didn't snow nearly this often. It did. I don't believe. I've only been 2 winters up here, so what the heck? I don't know, doodly. You'd probably freeze and crack now, Tricky. You're so out of shape. Oh. Yeah, that's true, David. In more ways than one. Oh. I have no idea what Eva's plan for the tinfoil hat report is today. There's a plethora
I
of
was considering skipping the tinfoil hat report.
I don't think so. You got too much stuff.
Nah, not a damn thing has been happening. Strictly your imagination.
Yeah, Jeff says much snowier year than average. That's what I've heard. Again, I don't have the experience myself, but it seems like it's been precipitating a lot. It had a couple of really cold snaps, but it hasn't been horrendously cold this winter. It seems a little colder than last winter, but not that much. What it does seem is just it keeps precipitating. The city right now is going around the major streets and sweeping. You know, the street sweepers are going, "Hey, my adventure, how's it going?" Been interesting to watch your videos there. Let's see. I had a question. I think I like your nitric acid and salt, or your hydrochloric acid and potassium nitrate method for making aqua regia to assay for gold. Getting rich? Excellent, my adventure.
Always good to hear.
Yep. So, say I'm going to be trying that. Gosh, iron. What was it? Iron sulfonate as a precipitate too. um, I say it's interesting to see your methodology, my adventure, because it's low tech but effective, which makes it accessible for a lot of people. When you get to the more complicated things, it becomes uh, a lot more difficult. But we'll be doing a lot of stuff this summer where we're going to have to process a lot of samples in a real short period of time, and I'll probably be mainly doing the hand panning for microfine gold methodology, backed up by some fire assays. But your methodologies may come in very handy this summer. We'll see. And if so, that thank you very much, because you give me another option now. Go ahead, Chris. You have the floor. Oh, glad to see you're here again. Oh, Tricky says he's Got 3 different ways to test the Eco Goldex solution. So he emailed them to me. I can, if he didn't send them to you, I can forward them on if needed. Okay, Tricky. Be careful. Yeah, well, Eva says I can't have potatoes anymore, Chris.
Oh, don't you start that nonsense.
Hey, I can whine if I want to. I'm an adult man. You can't tell me what to do. I can whine and snivel if I feel like it.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm identifying as an idiot.
I thought you were identifying as a 3-year-old.
No, I think I was. What was that? That was more of a puppy, I think. But anyhow, yep. Jeff, I would say when I go to rinse out the tank and everything, what's left is in the neighborhood of one good panful. I mean, one standard size gold pan. That's about it. It's really a very modest amount of material. And tipping the tank onto its side, the most complicated part of that is pulling the pumps out of it. Aside from that, because it's all pretty much, you know, self-contained, not a whole lot of plumbing hooked up to it. To put stuff in, we just throw a hose in there or flush from the bottom. Then, well, it's 1,000-gallon tank, Jeff, and you got almost a 2-inch lip there. So you got an annulus. The outside is like this big, and the inside's about that big, and the maximum depth is about this deep. Cool, Lars. And so, yeah, but nevertheless, if we had a lot of heavies, we could take the pumps out of the tank after washing everything down. We could take the pumps out of the tank and set it on its side in, what do you think, 15 minutes, little one?
Yeah.
Once it was empty? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Yeah, not much. And then, I can crawl through the opening. It's a narrow fit, but no big deal. And I hope you have a riding lawnmower or a tractor, my adventure. But then I can just climb in and sweep it up and set it outside, and we can put the tank back up. If we had enough to make it worthwhile to do that every batch, that would be kind of cool. As it is so far, we're just monitoring things, and we really haven't seen that much. I mean, after a couple of batches, wind up with maybe 1/100th of a gram. Just it's the stuff we got is so fine, it's insane. But if we do get some coarse stuff, I am assuming that we will be able to probably catch it there. If not, when I'm dumping it, I'm running it over a sluice anyhow, just for safety and security. So, say we shall see. It shouldn't be a big problem, but that's where we're at on that, and we will see what we shall see. Now, talk to Jim, Chris. He's on here supposedly. Jim, I think Chris is wondering what you've done with the sluice. It's still sitting in the beluga. So that's where it's at right now, Chris. But I say if we get a different ore which has coarser stuff, then it'll be interesting to see whether or not the that lip catches essentially everything, or whether we'll need to, uh, rely on sluicing to catch a significant amount of material. Currently at Montana B, that's not an issue. We're just kind of monitoring the situation to see if it pops up. At top of the hill, who the heck knows? That's a complete unknown at this point, except, about a half a mile away was a significant mine with substantial production. That's all I know right now. Uh, yeah, I hope you guys don't have too many bridges and stuff washed out, Chris. Sounds like you got a lot of snow that has to melt and go somewhere. Uh, Up here, the runoff is quite reasonable, and I think the plants are very happy. That would probably work, John. And all you have to do is have somebody rake up behind them. You'd be in good shape. Oh, I got to fix that gate too. Let's see, what do I need? I need chisels for tomorrow. Let me write this down. Oh,
So when do you think your brother will be here?
tomorrow evening or tomorrow sometime. I mean, he'll be getting into Salt Lake before the end of the show. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so scatterbrained that I find that putting a note on the door handle usually catches my attention before I get out of the building. Not the door itself. It's got to be the door handle. Not yet, Jim. My brother is on his way up here, and the plan right now is to head out there Wednesday morning and get some stuff done. If you don't have anything to do, you're welcome to come along. We got some stuff that could use a little help, but should be able to do it if needed. Let's see, the rose will be mostly shot. Yeah, it's amazing. The environmentalists want them to abandon all those roads, and then when the forest catches on fire, they find out, well, it'd be nice to have some roads. Shock. So yeah, that's the basic plan this week. My brother will be here to help out some, but the main plan is to go fishing. Oh, so
Your main plan is always to go fishing.
no, I like mining too. There's not much fishing at Top of the Hill or Montana B.
Yeah, there's no water at either location.
No, if you go down the hill from Top of the Hill, you can get to that. I forget what creek that is alongside the county road there.
Yep.
That would be.
I don't remember the name of that one either.
Women have been brought into Croxy Hawks Cart. No, I have no idea. Let's see what you're talking about here. YouTube. Croxy Hot Cart. No. Let's see. Craxy Hot Chart.
Craxy hot chart, dude.
Craxy hot chart. There it is. Oh, the cute and money matrix, the crazy hot matrix. Yeah, saw the crazy hot matrix. That's pretty funny. Yep. Yeah. Spell checker. Yep. Oh, but yeah, the crazy hot matrix. Yep. It's that's pretty funny. I also like Redonkulous. That guy's pretty hilarious.
He speaks truth in a very, very undiplomatic way.
Yeah, a very basic manner.
Oh yeah, he's an absolute MGTOW misogynist.
Oh, but anyhow.
Well, considering the way women are these days, I don't blame the MGTOWs.
It is getting pretty crazy out there, but what the heck?
Well,
the thing is,
Dylan Mulvaney.
Hi, honey bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing is about the crazy hot matrix is nowadays they're crazy and not hot either. It's like, you know. So how'd your week go, honey bunny? Mine's been mildly busy. Only half a ton? Well, that shouldn't bend the truck too much. Hey, Lauren, can I explain what happened this weekend with your trailer? People might find it interesting. Yeah, it was a little less. I had a Datsun 1300 one time, and my mom wanted me to take several inches out of the front yard and put in gravel, and took quite a few loads. Ooh, oh, Lars. That sounds like 1,000 pounds of BS, huh? GS, actually, huh? Anyhow, honey bunny, this is the reinforcing for the little truck crane from Harbor Freight. This joint right here looks to be the weak spot. Both Lauren and I think so. So we're going to insert more tubing in here and then just weld it at the bottom there. Oh, by the way, Chris, is this the point where your other crane bent? We kind of assumed that was the failure point here. No, it's going on to a Stutenroth impact mill so we can pick the upper shell up, swing it, and set it on the ground when we need to work on it. Well, we're not putting it on a truck bed. We got a frame with a 3/8 inch steel plate welded on it, and I'll be able to bolt the tension bolts through the frame. So, you know, it's not going to bend a truck bed at all. Let's say it's going to sit on steel plate like that. Well, it comes from the factory with these little teeny gussets. They're like, oh, that, you know, and it's about 1/8 inch wall tube, about 3-inch ID. And so we're going to bolt this. That's a 1/2 inch steel plate, basically. We're going to bolt that to the frame. And there's an aftermarket plate on the Stutenroth that's been put in there bolted to the factory frame, and that's what it's going to sit on. It's going to be very well supported on some good solid steel. So that's not going to be a problem. We're going to have to adjust the tubing size to fit.
Tucker was apparently fired by Lachlan Murdoch, which would be Rupert's son, I believe, or brother or something.
You didn't like the base plate itself, huh? Looks like a solid chunk of steel there. I'm sure it's not a high quality, hardened plate or anything like that. But the base plate itself didn't bend or anything, did it? Just the tube up in here. Oh, I did a better one. I had some corners that were used for holding square tubing, and they came from some packaging from someplace across the ocean or whatever. So I told Lauren, I said, okay, you want these things, because they're nice square corners and stuff. I said, but be careful. These are metric, so that's probably a half pi radians instead of 90 degrees. That sounds insane, Chris. You bent the base plate, you broke welds, you seized the tubes, you bent gussets, and it wasn't overloaded. Huh. I don't know. Let's say when we have the option when we start to hoist, we can always add, I can add 200 pounds to see if anything, uh, it will bend. And if it does, what we can do is we can pull the side covers off and pull all the 1 by 3 inch bars that are the wear surfaces inside. We can always reduce the weight of that thing by over half. So that was kind of my thought. We'll get it in place, we'll hook it up, we'll pick it up to where it's just off of the other surface so we know we got the entire weight. If it hasn't bent, pull down on it, get another couple 100 pounds, make sure nothing gives. I say if it tries to give, we'll go ahead and pull the side plates, pull the wear bars out, get it on the ground. Then we can take both the rotor impactors and the crane back to Lauren's for some work. I need to have something that'll swing, Chris. I need to be able to pick it up, move it, set it on the ground, Yeah, I said, we were just looking, it's like, well, how much would it cost to whip one of these things up? Yeah, basically a very similar thing. We were up to $240 just in steel nowadays. Wouldn't be that good for what we're planning on doing, Honey Bunny, because we want something fairly small that'll just pick it up, swing it, set it down, that sort of thing. And I say it shouldn't be that hard to do. We shall see. We could also, say, for the first time, if we have a problem, we'll simply take those wear bars out. PI, not PIE, outlier. How much does it weigh? Not sure. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 800 pounds. Okay. And the crane is supposedly rated for 1,000 at minimum jib, you know. Uh, let's see, $sign 4x4. Yeah. Yeah, I say it shouldn't be. Say we shall find out pretty quickly. Say I really don't know what the weight it is fully assembled with the wear bars. I know that without the wear bars, we could probably do it by hand. You know, it's oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, about 6 or 7 feet of quarter-inch plate. You know, so say we shall see. We'll unbolt the upper thing and try and hoist it, and say if there's a problem at that point, we'll know we really need to work on things. If there isn't, then pick it up a couple inches and then just hang me on it also. And if that doesn't bend it, then we got 200 pounds of extra capacity there, and we can just pick it up, swing it sideways, set it down for safety. You know, if it's hanging out of the way, yeah, you might be able to swing it on the other side over there and work from this side safely. We'll see. Yeah, that sounds like loads of fun. Honey bunny, did you have to carve it out or just yank it out? I hate the carving part. Well, hopefully it came out reasonably well, honey bunny. Didn't leave anything in. My adventure, no, I have not used Jin Chan, although from my understanding, it's extremely similar or identical to the Eco Goldex that I'm using. Um, Possibly Tricky Dicky has used the Jin Chan. Wasn't he the one using Jin Chan?
Yeah, I believe he was using Jin Chan.
I think it was Jin Chan. I think they're basically either a very similar or exactly the same product, just marketed through a different distributing network. Um, so I think the Eco Goldex is what you're going to be able to find on this side of the Pacific Ocean. Not at this point, honey bunny. So that's also another possibility that we could do. As I say, currently, I think with reinforcing it should be strong enough, but we shall see. So we'll just pick the load up a little bit and hang a few more 100 pounds on it. If nothing bends, it's like, okay. Oh, it's not going to tip over on nothing. It's going to be bolted to the frame of the crusher. So it's not going to fall over at all. It's going to be bolted onto that frame. And that thing it's heavy and solid. Yeah, tipping's not going to be an issue. And so no big deal there. Again, the whole idea is just we will. Okay, David, I can't even get out there yet. It'll be Wednesday before I can even access the location. But yeah, I'll be making a video on it and such. But yeah, we can just pick it up and swing it to the off side and hang it there, and then work from the near side, and then just swing it back. That would work fine too. Replace the cable, grind out the sharp edges that will fray it, replace the craptastic bolts, re-weld everything, and repaint. That might be a start. I say, I think I'm just going to put a couple extra 100 pounds on it and see if anything goes bye-bye. But yeah, I say it's an interesting situation, but I think everything looked reasonably strong. The bolts. That's a good question. I suppose it wouldn't hurt to buy new bolts that are made here. New bolts.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Say again, it's a matter of I really don't know. They don't have the little marks on them, so I can't really tell. Oh, somebody else is here. Oh,
Hi, everybody. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful?
oh, this too.
We went to the vintage show that was at the county fairgrounds, and I got that gorgeous music box. And the bear found this gorgeous book. Well, I found this book and
Yes,
told
you
the
did.
bear to get it. And we got a Pyrex butter dish. It's probably older than I am. This was good. It's just, oh, and it plays Memories, by the way, Barbara Streisand. So that tells you the era it's made in. It's modern. It's not antique. It's just vintage. Yeah, where's my butter dish? Go decades and decades ago. Before I was born, in fact, Pyrex made a set of containers like the modular Tupperware ones they have now. And this was the butter dish one. And when you wanted to stack them in your fridge, you put the lid on that way and they stacked up. So I got a real butter dish finally, which means I got back one of my bowls and one of my saucers because that had been the butter dish. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous, honey bunny. I was like, whoa, a real butter dish. I did not find an egg ring. This is highly annoying. The goddess very much desires to get a set of egg rings. My grandmother had them square and round. I have asked some people to make me egg rings. This has not happened.
No, they need to be really polished. See, some people can't just take a fried egg and put it on a piece of bread. It must be round or square. Because OCD.
If you're making egg McMuffin sandwiches, you want the egg to be round and the size of the muffin. This is not rocket surgery here, people.
Okay? I rest my case.
Yeah, silver actually is a good one. Yes, egg rings, the antique style ones. I think they make modern ones now. I haven't looked at them yet, but they probably have them somewhere on Amazon, a place I like to avoid assiduously. But when you're looking for egg rings, I suppose you got to go somewhere. They did not have them at Walmart. So, let's see what's going on in the mining world. Well, mines are being nationalized again. Not in this country yet, but give Lord Malarkey time, he'll probably get around to it. The Chilean government's plan to demand a controlling stake in all future lithium projects will deter investment and risk stalling the clean energy transition. Funny, Mexico nationalized lithium not long ago as well, according to Canadian mining billionaire Robert Friedland. The announcement, which sent shares of Chilean lithium companies tumbling on Friday, oh gee, I wonder why, would be quite challenging for international capital and make it harder to invest in Chile. The chairman of Ivanhoe Mines Limited said in an interview, "Money is a coward. It runs away at the first sign of trouble."
Not bad. I like that.
The goddess must point out at this point, that's not cowardice. That's discretion being the better part of valor. If you have a predatory government entity that is stealing all the shit, why the hell would you be stupid enough to put your money there? Really now. Demand for lithium, a core ingredient in electric vehicle batteries, is set to soar in the coming decades as automakers move away from gasoline. Yeah, they think. And diesel-powered models. Yeah, they think. Chile is the world's second biggest producer of the metal, and President Gabriel Boric seeking a bigger role for the state in the sector while also trying to build a domestic processing industry and protect the environment. Number one way to destroy investment possibilities and innovation is nationalization and socialization. So yeah, he's doing a great job so far here. The policy bears some similarities to what President Joko Widodo is trying to do with nickel in Indonesia. Santiago's move will undermine Chile's reputation as one of the safer places for foreign investors in Latin America. Really now. And amounts to nationalization of the country's lithium sector, Friedland said. The mining magnate has been involved in developing some of the world's biggest copper deposits, including Oyu Tolgoi in Mongolia and Kamoa Kakula in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's likely to set government back a long ways, denying companies like Rio Tinto and Teck and BHP to come in there and invest, Friedland said. That will not end well in my estimation. The goddess agrees with him. Governments are inefficient miners. Governments are inefficient everything. And it was much more efficient to encourage the private sector to invest, adding ill-considered nationalist policies risk derailing the clean energy transition. Wow, they've added another layer to the term nationalist. I believe they're aiming for nationalist socialist here, but who knows? Santiago's new policy comes as proposed mining royalty hikes in Chile, social unrest in Peru, and the threat of tax increases in Panama have delayed copper projects in those countries and spooked investors. Well, derp. Copper, like lithium, is a core ingredient in clean energy applications, and Chile and Peru are the world's number one and number two producers of the metal. Yeah, this is just going to go so well. I can see already that this is going to go real well. That's basically where we are in mining. Oh, there was $1 million in gold stolen somewhere, $1 million in gold actually isn't that much.
No, it's a lot more than $1 million.
In terms of, size here. But yeah.
Wasn't it more like 10 million?
Yeah, it was a good amount of gold. We all know how that goes. But yes, things are going to get a little bit ridiculous in the mining sector, as we are now seeing more concerted efforts by the governments in already questionable and sketchy locations, getting predatory toward profiting, so to speak, from other people's money and other people's time and other people's expertise and other people's investments. Now, mind you, it's not like U.S. mining is doing much better. Thank you to Lord Malarkey, who we all know and love. Yeah, right. Speaking of him, in the midst of all this kerfluffle that has occurred regarding Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson and Dylan Mulvaney now being the spokeswoman for Maybelline, Lord Malarkey released a statement under some War Powers Act or other from who knows when. he gave Congress official notifications that, yeah, we're going to be deploying some troops in some place called Djibouti or your booty, like shake your booty. Who knows? We're deploying some troops, and we're deploying some other troops in Sudan, and we're deploying some other troops around the outskirts of Sudan, and they'll stay there as long as it takes while we evacuate the last of the embassy personnel. It should be noted that despite this pronouncement from the White House, the State House website is still telling American citizens, 16,000 that we know about, but probably about 3 times as many, that they need to shelter in place. Don't try to flee the country illegally or cross any borders. And don't expect the embassy to help you because we're all gone. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. And no, don't expect rescue either. C'est la vie. This is what you get for hanging out in places like Sudan that are in the middle of civil wars, apparently. Just saying. And also, in the midst of all this kerfluffle, a couple of Congress critters, somebody named Ernst and somebody named Hassan, have got together and have put forth a wonderful bipartisan bill that will single-handedly save our economy. Well, it will single-handedly vastly improve our already historically improved economy. Yes, indeed it will. Because they want to give Congress the power to re-regulate, re-weight, resize, or debase with other metals what's left of our American coinage. Pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, So let me get this straight. They're saying that this is going to save tons of money. We can save a penny and save 2 pennies. Yeah, really, they did. So they're going to debase further an already debased currency while continuing to overshoot what passes as a debt ceiling by several $1 trillion a year, while continuing to function as the piggy bank for the entire free world, everybody other than us, of course, while continuing to spend money like drunken sailors on shore leave after 9 months at sea. Yeah, switching to steel pennies is definitely going to save the day here. Now, the goddess is betting that they're probably going to go with steel for this new money. It's probably going to be magnetic money. The reasoning is simple. You want your money to be relatively durable stuff, which means that tin is not going to make it even if it wasn't expensive. And aluminum ain't going to make it even if it wasn't more expensive. Nickel is now going to be needed for the great green revolution that we all know about and heartily despise and are pretty sure is going to fail abysmally. So if you wanted to phase out the cupronickel and you wanted to phase out the zinc copper dipped sandwiches that pass for pennies these days, then you're pretty much going to have to go with steel, which means America may end up with magnetic money because non-magnetic steel is apparently more expensive than magnetic. Now, this actually doesn't bother the goddess at all because it means that the goddess may be able to go fishing for money easier. That's it. The goddess finds it fundamentally insulting that these people want to debase our already debased currency while still practicing the fiscal irresponsibility that puts shopaholics to shame. It's bizarre and unaccountable. Just bizarre, rather than restoring the soundness to the dollar. Senators seek to debase the nickel. Well, yeah, that's because a nickel now costs almost 10.5 cents to make. So anybody who ain't stacking nickels along with their pre-82 pennies right now is missing out on some free money. But that's another story. Fiat currencies are undergoing inflation eventually reach the point where the smallest unit of account becomes practically worthless. More trouble to handle and account for than it's worth. That is the current state of the cent. Yeah, they're trying to get rid of pennies again. Don't let them. Few people today would bother to pick up a penny laying on the ground. They don't know the goddess very well, do they? Back in 2018, Representative Brad Sherman likened pennies to litter in a speech on the House floor. I'm going to suggest you simply abolish the penny. It isn't currency, it's litter. If a police officer saw me throw pennies on the ground, I'd get a ticket for littering. And if I tried to pay that ticket with pennies, the judge would be very upset. The penny has been our lowest unit of currency since 1857, since Lincoln. Now, he wouldn't throw pennies on the ground and call it litter because back then a penny was worth more than $1 is today. Gee, I wonder why that is. Of course,
sure,
Sherman
Paul.
doesn't take responsibility for his own role in trashing the value of currency through his support of massive deficit spending and the inflationary monetary system that enables it. It currently costs the government more than 2.5 cents to produce a penny. The cent simply makes no economic sense. The nickel is also now in the red. It costs more than 10 cents to mint and distribute a nickel. Last week, Senators Joni Ernst, Republican Iowa, and Maggie Hassan, Democrat New Hampshire, introduced legislation to formally debase the nickel. It would direct the U.S. Mint to produce nickels out of cheaper materials. Others, such as Art Carden of the American Institute for Economic Research, are calling for pennies and nickels to simply be retired as functionally useless. Yeah, folks, they want to start rounding our prices to the nearest dime. Remember about a decade and a half, 2 decades ago, they were saying we got to get rid of the penny, but we'll only round to the nearest nickel and it'll even out and everything will be fine?
Thank
Well,
you,
now
Paul.
these yo-yos want to get rid of the penny and the nickel and round to the nearest dime, and of course everything will be just fine. Yeah, great. Ditching small coins is about more than narrow financial savings. It's also a test case of effective governance. Getting rid of the penny is an absolute economic slam dunk. Pennies and nickels are politically resilient. Why? It's a straightforward story of concentrated benefits and dispersed costs that is pretty easy to understand. To stop minting small coins would, of course, hurt the people who mine, refine, and transport the raw materials that go into them. There are unionized government employees at the U.S. Mint with a stake in it. These points are well taken. However, neither cheapening nor eliminating coins that are too costly to produce is a solution to the underlying problem of currency depreciation. Quarters and dimes have already been debased. So with pennies, they were minted out of copper until 1982. They're now mostly zinc with a lead coating. Nickels even included silver between 42 and 45 when Congress authorized a temporary removal of nickel, a critical metal used in World War II production. Most war nickels contain 35% silver. Pre-65 coins, copper pennies, and war nickels are now valued based on their intrinsic metal content. Yeah, basically, coins that circulate today are effectively counterfeit versions of the originals, and they are. So are paper dollar bills. Well, yeah, they're not even bills, they're notes. Totally different. The founders defined a dollar in terms of a fixed weight of gold or silver. A modern Federal Reserve note, which cannot be redeemed for any quantity of precious metal, is a counterfeit version of a constitutional dollar. Real solutions to the problem with U.S. coinage and currency start with real money. Exactly. So, yeah, they're planning to debase our already debased currency. This is getting insulting here. Just saying. Mississippi becomes the 43rd state to end sales taxes on gold and silver. Bravo, Mississippi. Arkansas has also gone on to the good stuff. The Legal Tender Act in Arkansas. So we're doing good there. at least, this is a good thing. You may have noticed there was a minor kerfluffle in media land today. No, no sane person pays any attention to the media to begin with.
I do, Paul.
Two things happened today that were of interest in media land. Tucker Carlson has now been taken off Fox News. The largest, most popular, highest revenue producing TV pundit lost his job. At the same time, that mediocre, rather perverted and degenerate racist cretin over at CNN, Don Lemon, also lost his job. Yeah. Now, this is kind of funny because what we got on the Fox side was we got a very terse letter that said that everybody had decided to part ways and thanked Tucker for his service. The real story is beginning to come out, and it's looking pretty damned interesting. On the CNN side, Don Lemon finished his show, found out he was fired, and immediately took to Twitter, screeching and whining and plotzing and dying all over the place about how, 17 wonderful years and the management didn't even have the basic common decency to fire him in person. It was just horrible. It's so triggering. It's so traumatizing. Well, CNN immediately clapped back on this, which I found rather hilarious. When CNN came out and said, no, that's inaccurate. We informed Mr. Lemon that the management wanted to speak to him. And instead of speaking to management, he took to Twitter. Yeah, we have not heard from Tucker yet. I'm pretty sure we'll hear from Tucker. For anybody that wants to find Tucker for their daily fix of relative sanity and just a genuinely nice person who turns out to be an Episcopalian of all things, you can go to tuckercarlson.com, where you will find Tucker's monologues and you will find Tucker merchandise that's really cool. Meanwhile, the Daily Wire has already offered him a place, and Glenn Beck has already offered him a place. Steve Bannon dang near passed out in shock when he heard the news live. He was like, wow, Fox is dead now. Dan Bongino was in the middle of a live broadcast when this crapola hit the fan, and he also was struck speechless in shock and awe. So yeah, Tucker Carlson is no longer with Fox, which, as far as I am concerned, good for Tucker. He'll do better without them. Zero Hedge has some news on this issue, just so we can all find out what's going on here. Well, let me see if I can get it without, just have to try to get rid of the silly ads that pop up all over the place here. Pain in the neck having to deal with this kind of thing. Tucker Carlson was fired by Lachlan Murdoch. Here's what we know. Now, to get you up to date on the rumor mill here, originally we didn't know whether Tucker had quit or Tucker got fired because the media release was very, very carefully worded. Okay? Speculation swirled in the tinfoil hat community that it was about his reporting of January 6th and the amazing files and videos. And another camp said, well, don't forget his reporting lately about a certain little gift from Pandaland that just keeps on giving and the medical interventions associated with said gift that Tucker has been reporting on. After an entire day wondering why in the hell Fox News would can the highest rated cable news host in the world ever, the New York Times has come out with this. The decision to let Mr. Carlson go was made on Friday night by Lachlan Murdoch, the chief executive of Fox Corporation, and Suzanne Scott, chief executive of Fox News Media, according to a person briefed on the move. Mr. Carlson was informed on Monday morning by Ms. Scott, another person briefed on the move said. Why? The power that Mr. Carlson, 53, wielded outside Fox News could not insulate him from a growing list of troubles inside the network related to his conduct on and off air. Some of which had been grating on Mr. Murdoch and his father, Rupert Murdoch, the chairman of Fox Corporation, who co-founded the network in 1996, according to two people with knowledge of the company's decision. The host, a polarizing and unpopular figure at the network outside of his own staff, was exposed as part of a defamation lawsuit by Dominion Voting Systems as a bully who denigrated colleagues and sources, often in profane and sexist language. Really now. And called for the firing of Fox journalists whose coverage he disliked. Really now. He has also drawn condemnation from the left and right for his role in fostering a revisionist account of the assault on the United States Capitol on January 6th. Whoa. Well, let's back the frog up on this clown car here. Fostering a revisionist account of the assault. 33 freaking hours of actual video is a revisionist account. Well, considering that 60 Minutes and the New York Times are both saying that Ray Epps is unfairly maligned, absolutely innocent, was never, ever, definitely not a federal agent. In fact, he was an ardent Trump supporter. Yeah. Okay. So he was mean to people. We all know last week, Tucker attacked Big Pharma in one of his monologues. 3 days ago, Tucker's opening monologue calls out mainstream media's role in pushing the COVID vaccines despite their high risk for serious side effects and death. Today, Tucker is no longer with Fox. This is the power of Big Pharma. That was on Twitter earlier today. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has tweeted, Fox fires Tucker Carlson 5 days after he crosses the red line by acknowledging TV networks pushed a deadly and ineffective vaccine to please their pharma advertisers. Carlson's breathtakingly courageous April 19th monologue broke TV's two biggest rules. And the tweet continues. You might want to go look it up. As a matter of fact, the goddess will say, despite Robert Kennedy being an authoritarian weirdo and a total and complete climate nut, there's a lot of things I like about that dude. One early point of contention was Mr. Carlson's 2021 documentary, Patriot Purge, which advanced the conspiracy theory that the attack that day was a so-called false flag operation designed to discredit the former president and his political movement. Lachlan Murdoch was said to have been caught off guard by the program, which also led two conservative Fox News contributors to quit and protest, Jonah Goldsberg and Stephen Hayes, neither of whom was actually conservative, but that's beside the point. In March, Mr. Carlson edited down tens of thousands of hours of footage from the attack given to him by Speaker Kevin McCarthy and used them to falsely portray the rioters as people Mr. Carlson called mostly peaceful onlookers who had innocently ambled into the Capitol. The broadcast drew a rebuke from Senator Mitch McConnell. This is what happens when you let turtles talk. Who is a friend of Rupert Murdoch's and said Mr. Carlson had drawn offensive and misleading conclusions. So he showed the public the January 6th footage and dared question the event. Very, very, very. The Times also said, now this is a good one. Glenn Greenwald has come out. There are a few people in media who have their own independent following loyal to them. Tucker is one of them. If he goes to an independent platform, his audience will be even bigger and his voice more influential. Fox needed Tucker way more than Tucker needed Fox. You got that right. The Times also says one of Carlson's former producers said he ran a toxic workplace. And yet, is any of that worth giving up tens of millions in Tucker-related ad revenue? It seems if you routinely question the regime, it is. And by the way, Tucker's last appearance on Fox the other night is really worth looking up. He was sitting and laughing and being a normal human being and enjoying pizza with a pizza delivery dude. Now, their idea of a toxic workplace, we already know because there were chicks involved. Okay? We don't have to go any further on that. We all know what these feminists are like. Tucker Carlson, the highest rated news cable host in history, is out at Fox. So that's the way that goes. Fox may live to regret this, considering
I
that
doubt they'll live.
number one trending on Twitter for hours worldwide has been, Fox is gone and several variants. Their website has been getting more and more bogged down as people show up over there to cancel Fox Nation. So we shall see what happens there. You might also want to look on Zero Hedge for the backstory on Anthony Blinken and the made men of the Biden administration. Because it turns out that a whole lot of the people on that letter, the letter that was absolutely election interference and a deep state plot, turns out a whole lot of them got very nice cushy positions in the Biden administration. Nothing new about that. I mean, just saying. That's the way that goes. As to our metals, currently spot on gold is $1,996.10 an ounce, and silver is holding steady at $25.23. Yes, it is. We know this is going to continue. It should also be noted that these numbers are likely to persist. What is likely to change for those of us on the ground is the premium you're paying in your LCS. I keep an eye on this with a whole network of informal reports from all over the country from people that shop in local coin shops and shop online. The problem with shopping online right now is every once in a while you'll see a really great flash sale for $1.99 over spot, but everything's out of stock. As a matter of fact, a whole lot of stuff is out of stock online. There are places where they are now charging over $50 for an American Silver Eagle. Now, granted, American Silver Eagles have always had disgustingly insulting premiums attached to them. But that's just a little bit ridiculous. And we're not even talking the newest Eagles either. We're talking older Eagles. Random year, our choice, not slabbed, not special, nothing weird about them, just there. Looking a little bit sketchy, that is. The other thing we're seeing in terms of buying, a lot of stuff that never used to be sold out is selling out, or it's selling out a whole lot faster than it used to. It's getting harder for people who shop to get the best deals on bulk stuff. I have seen reports on the face value multiplier on 90% silver in some parts of the country going as high as 30 times face for 90% and 15 times face for 40% when you can find it. Okay. We're still low here in Helena on that, but they don't have any. So, having 21 times face does not do any good if you don't have any face. Just saying. The other thing that a lot of coin dealers are reporting here, there, and everywhere is more shipping delays again, more having to pre-order to lock in a price on anything at all. Our current coin dealer has tons and tons of pre-orders, like a stack, that he's trying to fill, and his cases are getting emptier by the week. I got lucky this week. I got a very nice Morgan. Just saying. So, what we're likely to see at this point, as long as the financial situation stays relatively sane and people are able to ignore it all at least, is not so much sharp upward movement in the spot price of metals, but we are going to see some migration happening again in premiums. We may be going back to a time when we will be looking at 25% premiums and saying, wow, those were the good old days. This is looking more and more likely on the local level. It's already beginning to happen out there in the online world. Getting those super duper sales that were going on is getting a whole lot harder these days. It's not what it used to be. It's getting really sketchy out there, which is why it's a great time to buy the stuff, okay? I mean, back up the truck because this is the time to get it. As to the financial situation, apparently First Republic, was it first? Yes, it was First Republic. Apparently, First Republic is in worse shape than they thought they were in. Funny how that happens. So far, they've had to borrow like $100 billion or more from that new revolving too big to fail slush fund of imaginary money that's been floated by the banks. And they borrowed from JP Morgan, they borrowed from the Fed, and they borrowed from everybody. And their stock is dropping merrily, along with Fox's stock, just saying. So there are more rumblings that they may have a few issues over there that everybody's being very, very studiously quiet about. You may have noticed we're not hearing much about the banks these days, ever since they made that nice little announcement that effectively nationalized our banking system. That's all disappeared right off the dang radar. Funny how that happens. Pay more attention to the stuff they make sure not to mention. Because it's like looking for a submarine. You look for the place in the ocean where there isn't a sound. And that's where there's a sub. Okay? There's something weird going on with that bank. There's something weird going on with quite a few banks at the moment, actually. It should be noted that some of the online banks have all of a sudden been offering ridiculously high interest rates. Like 4.20%. People are really liking the number 420 for some reason. No idea. Now, this is not necessarily a good thing because, first of all, it's still well below the actual inflation rate. And second of all, you got to wonder where they're getting the money to cover that. But then again, they're banks, Expecting any reasonable behavior out of a bank is getting a little bit optimistic at the moment. Oh, and remember Maybelline? Their really, really old ad commercial, Was she born with it? Or is it Maybelline? Well, as I said earlier, Maybelline has a new spokeswoman. His name is Dylan Mulvaney. He's also a spokeswoman for MAC Cosmetics for you ladies that like to wear the expensive, fancy stuff that actually used to be marketed to women. Oh, and I think he's still working with Ulta on a few things for that infinitesimally tiny sector and demographic of the world. But yeah, now we have to wonder. I'm trying to decide whether Maybelline is trying to say our crap is so good we can even make a dude looks like a lady.
Dude looks like a lady.
Or what they're trying to do. Because quite frankly, I was watching the video of Dylan doing his makeup, okay? Because it was pitiful and funny as hell at the same time. I must admit, this guy has a great grift going on. as mocking and pejorative and misogynistic as it is toward real women, and he absolutely hates women. You can tell by the way he acts, okay? As mocking and disgusting and derisive as it was toward women, he does have a damn good grift going on right now. He also can't put on makeup worth a shit. The hot pink tone that he decided to use for his eyeshadow totally clashed with the mauve and ashes of roses colored dress he was wearing. The dude has no taste. You know, might have something to do with the fact he's a dude. But, yeah. So, Maybelline has joined the ranks of the insane, which does not surprise me. And by the way, if anybody's curious, their parent company is L'Oreal Paris. So, yeah. I was kind of bummed to find out that my Revitalift cream, which is one of my favorite skincare products, is now permanently yeeted from my medicine cabinet. And it kind of sucks. Oh well. Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, well, the thing about Mulvaney, what I find interesting is though the information was deleted and scrubbed from his social media, the internet never forgets. People dug up some old posts of his from several years ago where he was doing one of his histrionic car videos and crying about how he hadn't been able to get any roles as a non-binary person. And then a friend of his was nice enough to write him this amazing femme role, Femme. So yeah, he's playing a part. As a matter of fact, sometimes I wonder if he's even non-binary or gay in the first place. After all, it should be noted that if this were indeed an oppressed minority, we would not see people actively trying to ally with them and play them. Just like certain people like Sean King and Rachel Dolezal when it comes to another supposedly oppressed minority. If a minority is truly oppressed, the people that are in it are trying to pass for the other guys. What we have now is people that are not in it passing for that movement. So yeah, this comes back to Voltaire, who said if you ever want to know who's really in charge, look at who you can't criticize. Meanwhile, silver's on sale, buy silver. Gold's on sale, buy gold. Stack your pennies, stack your nickels. And by the way, the last 10-pound bag of chicken leg quarters we had 15 legs in it. That is really pushing the early process envelope right there. That's not good at all. If that trend continues, we have a problem. But yeah, stack the food, stack the automotive lubricants, stack the silver, the gold, the nickels, and the pennies, because if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Bye.
Oh. We get chicken leg quarters at the grocery store, Honey Bunny, because they're cheap. And it's kind of a indicator as to what the harvest
What the processing
point
pipeline health
is at for in the growth curve of the chickens. So basically, if you get, I think the least I've ever gotten out of one of those 10-pound bags was like 9 leg quarters, and it's typically about 10
7.
or 11.
7 is the lowest we ever got.
7?
We were getting
Those were
7 for
gigantus.
forever when they were holding them beyond market curve.
But anyhow, so that's what she's looking at there is what's the size of the birds when they're killing them.
Proper processing weight, you should be looking at 9 to 10 leg quarters max per bag. It's 8 to 10 puts you right in the optimal market weight processing envelope.
She says, I don't know. I tear up rocks.
I know these things.
But anyhow, so I see that we lost quite a few people. Not sure why. I think Outlier didn't find it interesting. But anyhow, so you're gonna need some good enclosures there, honey bunny. Good solid. Here, I made a chicken coop for someone once that wound up with mountain lion claw marks on the outside. I was proud of myself. Anyhow, for those who showed up late, the KD3 solution thing, still haven't been able to get hold of the supplier. Don't know what's up, but Tricky Dicky says he knows exactly what I need to do to basically make my own. Okay? So we should be okay there. We're working on modifying and strengthening a cheap Harbor Freight truck bed crane to pick up a part from the Stutenroth mill. And let's see. My brother will be here tomorrow. So I got lots of stuff lined up because he's bringing a truck. So we can get some stuff done that I haven't been able to get done in a while out at the ranch. And that's basically about it. So things are going fairly well there. Got lots to do. And yeah, I'm not too worried about it. We're taking it at minimum stick too. I mean, it says it's rated at 1,000 pounds at minimum stick. So we'll see. Actually, we're not even replacing most of the wear items, but the impactors. Where are we at here? I had some. There we are. The Stutenroth mill. And no, I'm not the goddess. The Stutenroth mill has a hexagonal housing. And in here, they have a series of wear bars. That create an inside of a chamber, and they have a shaft with 3 supports that have impactors on them. Okay? And the edges of these impactors are worn a bit. They've gone from this to about that. So now's the perfect time to put like 3 beads of hard facing there and then put them back in. And that way we won't wear down to the base metal. And that will make them last a lot longer. Ideal time. And these housings have 2 flanges and they just bolt together. So the basic thing is you take these bolts out. This, they have a feed chute that comes with it. We've got our stuff bolted to it. There's a couple bolt holes here. So put a couple eye bolts in the bolt holes and pick up the this upper clamshell, swing it over and set it down. These wear bars are like 1 inch by 2 inch and 1 inch by 3 inch bars. Real size. So this is a lot of weight inside this that if we need to lighten it up, we can just pull the side cover plates off, pull all those bars out, and now we've taken most of the weight out of it. So it'll be easy. So I'm not too worried. We just need to get inside it so we can unbolt these impactors and take them to the shop for hard facing. That's what we're doing. So, not a big issue. But that thing is way too heavy for 2 guys to really pick up easily. Yeah, except it takes a lot more time, honey bunny. Because you say you got to pull them, and then when you slide them back in, you got to line them up with the seat on, and it's only 1/4 inch on each side that they sit in. There's nothing else there, so you got to be careful not to push one bar. It's just a bit of a pain. Say if we can pick it up in one piece, life will be a lot easier. We shall see. The wear on the wear bars is not focused on the edges, which is kind of odd, but I mean it's distributed across it, and so they've only worn, there's so little wear, maybe a couple hundredths of an inch at this point after 13 tons. So let's say the wear is fine. We're getting pretty good wear rates out of this machine. Pretty happy with that. A lot of it probably has to do with we're feeding it relatively small feed size, like 1/2 inch minus material. If you had larger chunks, then when the wear parts hit them, it'll take a bigger divot out of them. Plus now that you've taken that big divot, now it's down to 1/2 inch, and now you get to do the regular wear. So by keeping it fairly small, feed size, you're going to reduce the wear rate. Some of the rock we're putting in there is pretty low abrasion stuff. It busts up pretty easy. Other stuff is very high abrasion. So, but overall, we seem to be doing just fine. Hey, Jeff, how's it going? And so I say we should have that serviceable by this week. And so that's, as I just kind of what we're dealing with. Then the RC46, take that to Lauren's. I think the toggle plate on the jaw crusher is worn to the point where the movable plate's just too far from the stationary plate to get the size particles that we need to get through the rollers. It would also be nice to find out exactly how big the rollers are now, so we could start looking for some material to make shells later. We're just using the jaw crusher on the RC46 for the production and milling. We're not using the rollers because we're using the Stutenroth. So there's no wear on the rolls for now, though we will be getting some wear on the rolls for processing samples in the field up at top of the hill. We'll be taking like bucket-sized samples and running them through the RC46 and then splitting it down. That's the theory. So we shall see once we get up there and start doing stuff exactly what we wind up. But by doing that in the field, I can then hand pan it right there in the field and get some idea where, if we hit some decent grades, we should be able to pan something. Even with the extremely small gold at Montana B, I can easily detect, in the pan, once I get up to 1/10 to 1/4 of an ounce, I can say, okay, we got some gold coming in here. Normally my detection limit will be lower than that, but Montana B is just so fine a gold. But I anticipate being able to, get a lot of information at high speed in the field, and that it's really important to be able to basically find out what the hell you're dealing with right then, so then you can interpolate off of that data and start focusing on where the good stuff is. So as if it'll work at Montana B, it should work almost anywhere, because that stuff's insanely fine. But we'll just have to play it by ear. And but we need that RC46 running well. And right now, the jaw crusher doesn't make particles fine enough to go through the rollers. It just sits on top of the rollers or jams there. He was here earlier, Jeff. Don't know if he's still around, but he came in and typed in a few things, and then Eva just gave her report, so I haven't seen in a while. Don't know if he's still playing or not. Oblique roller mill, huh? Let's see. Close that. Oblique. I spelled it right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if I got a diagram yet. Abstract. Wow. A whole crap load of authors and stuff. But yeah, won't be able to find a picture real quick, it doesn't look like. Helical rolling. Is that the same as a helical rolling mill? Don't know. Franklin Miller. Okay. I'm not exactly sure what an oblique roller mill is. Honey Bunny? No, Honey Bunny. Yours might be different than a normal one. Anyhow. So, okay. There's Jim. Also, that's pretty much what I thought, Honey Bunny. That was my impression. Like you're typing. Oh. But I say, so we still got maintenance items to do right now. Now that I say I'll be able to get to the ranch here Wednesday and then get started on some stuff. 60 mesh free mill. Flotation works pretty good for that. Yeah. Gravity might too, but if you're trying to get some sulfide cons or something like that too, then flotation might be a better way. Be interesting to see what you're doing when you get here, Jeff. Oh. And then see how it integrates with some of the stuff we're doing. Oh. Is it only free mill gold, or do you have stuff that's more complex ore, like lots of silver and things like that in it, Jeff? Seems like around here we get a lot of different things. Oh, it's the Parks process, little one, that one I was telling you about the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mr. Carlson found out he was being let go about 10 minutes before the network announced his departure.
Well, they let him know as soon as they made the decision. Clearly they put it off to the last second. Yeah, pretty complex ores. Yeah. That's where life gets interesting. Oh. So we shall see. Yeah, he says he's using the Parks process for getting the silver out of the lead, little one. Does that also work with the gold? Or is it primarily just the silver, Jeff? And I forget, was it that zinc or tin they floated on top of the molten lead? Yeah. Just the silver? Yeah. Yeah. Zinc. Okay. Yeah, what he's talking about, folks, is that when you take lead that contains silver, and you fuse it, you melt it, and then you put molten zinc on top of it. The zinc stays kind of separate, but the silver moves into the zinc, and then you can separate the zinc from the lead, and that's where your silver is. Then now you just separate the silver from the zinc, and it's a lot more concentrated. So it'll be interesting to see what you've got to deal with. The alloy hardens. Oh, if you had it at the right temperature, I guess, yeah, it would. Once it absorbs a certain amount of silver, the melting point goes up to the point where it freezes, and then you could skim it off.
Peel it off.
Yeah, you just peel it off.
Woohoo! I want to try this.
Eva wants to try, Jeff.
Well, I need to get some more to do it on.
Okay. But anyhow, well, Jeff's going to be here in August. We'll see what we do at that point. It's going to be interesting. So, I'd say it's not a whole lot of excitement here, but I should have several videos this week. I got a lot of things we should get done. And also the furnace repairs and such, that'll be there. Jeff says that beautiful zinc will give you the shakes. Ooh, that sounds scary with my wife. Die cast, huh? Huh. Zinc shavings at a refinery when I was 10. Yep. Says you got to stay away from the fumes. Is that mainly from the zinc or the lead or both, Jeff? Zinc is bad news too. Another heavy metal similar to lead in terms of how it works, the effects it has, and how you absorb it, etc. Let me get something to drink here. I need a drink. Goodness. The zinc fumes better, huh? One thing I've decided is we need a much better exhaust hood out at the ranch than we've got. So I need to upgrade that and put in a much bigger blower and go from there. But yeah, it's not where. Most lead oxide is so heavy it takes a lot of it to float upward, but any little whiff of zinc oxide will float like white soot. Okay. So the particulates are a lot more likely to get inhaled then, huh? Okay. Noted.
So we put a scrubber on our exhaust fan so we can catch this stuff?
Probably wouldn't hurt to have a scrubber just for safety. Honey Bunny says zinc oxide is highly soluble. So that should be fairly easy. I'm not sure specifically. I just bought mine off of Amazon. It wasn't terribly expensive, but I didn't need very much. So, how much do you need, Paul? Do you need, grams? Or are you looking for pounds or a lot more than that? And do you need powder or would granules work? I've got both some zinc powder and some zinc granules. Yeah, that's what I've heard, Paul. You need a pound or less? I just looked on Amazon and got some, let's see, zinc powder. Zinc powder pure. Zinc oxide, no. Zinc citrate. As usual, whenever you put exactly what you want in there, it gives you everything else in the fucking planet. What is it? You put quotes around it or something like that? Because it says, and I quote, zinc powder, pure, zinc orotate, zinc oxide, zinc picolinate, zinc plus copper.
Some of those sound like nutritional supplements.
They're all nutritional. The one thing you don't get is zinc.
Yeah.
You know?
I was going to say.
This is what's so frustrating. It's like, shouldn't zinc be the first thing you see? You know, nothing else should show up until after the zinc. Holy crap. I hate these things. Let's see. Let's just go zinc powder for sale on Bing. Let's see what happens there. Zinc oxide, 1 pound zinc dust, eBay $14. Zinc powder, 15 grams, $5.55. Zinc sulfate, zinc oxide, zinc metal powder, 99%, 250, 500, etc. 3 pounds, $9 per pound. So you can get zinc dust, 3 pounds, $9 per pound on eBay there.
Regular zinc sheet material?
I'm not sure what he wanted. He said he wanted zinc powder. Yes, I've noticed that, honey bunny. Yeah. Huh. Zinc is in 6013. I generally use 7018. Yeah, you can get, I think, zinc from Industrial Metal Supply too for casting. Oh. What are you going to use it for? Just precipitation out of solution, Paul? That would be my guess. Yeah, I got some zinc granules and zinc dust because the granules have a fairly high surface to surface ratio, but they're a lot easier to control than dust. You know, they don't plug a filter paper, things like that. So that was my thought. Anyhow, you can put them in like a one of our filter cartridges with nothing else in there, and they'll sit on the bottom. Oh. Not sure if you need to pre-treat the zinc test to get a good you might want to check on that. I think it was lead acetate or something you react it with first to make it much more effective, but I don't recall for sure. But I'm pretty sure there's something like that in there to maximize the efficiency of the zinc. Oh. Let's see. Yeah. It basically does a cementation sort of thing. Another good question would be, let's see, what solution are you cementing it out of, and have you deactivated the solution first? For example, if you're using a cyanide solution, you would generally deoxygenate it before cementing to get maximum efficiency. Again, from what we're told, when it burns off, those fumes are very toxic, so be quite cautious. You know, you might be able, if you were cementing it onto zinc, what you could probably do is find an acid that will easily dissolve the zinc but will not dissolve the gold. And then you could put it in that acid, filter the gold out, and then you could probably re-cement the zinc into like a flake. I mean, that's how we get our silver back after the parting. We just use copper to cement the silver. I would imagine you could do a similar thing with the zinc. And those silver flakes are pretty good surface area. You know, I'm thinking, little one, if we had zinc flake like that, you could screen it, and that would be pretty effective in terms of surface area.
Mm-hmm.
I think muriatic dissolves zinc. Not sure. Anyone know right off their heads?
I know we did. It was something we had. That I think we were using sulfuric. When we tried doing cementation.
Zinc dissolves in water. Zinc oxide dissolves in strong bases. Zinc does dissolve in hydrochloric acid. Okay, you get a redox reaction where the copper takes electrons from the zinc, so it becomes neutral solid copper, and the zinc loses those electrons to the copper. Okay, so copper probably wouldn't work for zinc. That's possible, Paul. But it may be simpler to do something else. If you do flux and smelt, then at least the zinc would be contained. Well, whatever zinc didn't go up the exhaust would be contained in the slag. You might want to scrub your exhaust to keep from contaminating the surroundings with zinc. Couldn't hurt to have a scrubber.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fan of scrubbers.
Mm-hmm. Zinc chloride can be reprecipitated by reacting with aluminum.
Really?
That's what Honey Bunny says.
Cool. A use for all the aluminum cans.
That's true, Paul, but nevertheless, I say it can contaminate the surroundings if it forms, a solid oxide or something and then settles out. It could be an issue. Don't know. You have to see how much you were releasing. It releases a lot of hydrogen gas if it gets too hot, though, so be sure you keep the reaction cool. Eva was saying she thinks we use sulfuric acid on the zinc, but I don't know.
I believe it was sulfuric acid.
It's possible. Probably
We
would
can
work.
Go back and see.
Yep. It's always nice to recover your toxic materials in a form you can reuse them. Saves you money. It prevents disposal issues. Yeah, anybody says that if you dissolve the zinc with hydrochloric acid and then react with aluminum, you'll get aluminum chloride metallic zinc. I presume you would want to have consumed all your hydrochloric acid first and or neutralized it before you did that step. Am I correct, Honey Bunny? You can also react with water and end up with zinc hydroxide.
What would we do with zinc hydroxide?
Don't know. Paul Coover says urea. Doesn't give much instruction, just says urea. So I'm not exactly clear what the message is there. It's a tad ambiguous. Very concise, though. Very concise. It's amazing how much knowledge there is out here. We got 10 people, huh?
Yeah, we don't know.
Urea to get the acid neutralized. Does that neutralize hydrochloric? I know that My Adventure uses it to neutralize nitric, but I don't know if it not neutralizes the hydrochloric also. You could always use, any base. Yeah, the negative to doing that in a furnace, Honey Bunnies, you're going to wind up with a chunk of zinc instead of finely divided zinc, which would be ideal for reuse. On the other hand, if you cemented it, then you generally wind up with a fairly finely divided material. Yes, you could grind it.
If you had something to grind it in.
It's pretty reactive when molten, not sure.
Bright white flames ensue.
Yeah, it ignites. We were trying to melt down some zinc, and it got a little interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure, Honey Bunny. I know that when we're recovering our silver from silver nitrate solution through cementation on copper, it creates real small little flakes. Very nice and finely divided. And it's just fine for Eva to reuse again for in-quarting. So we have a nice little closed loop. She uses the silver powder as an in quart, gets her precious metals bead, then puts it in the nitric acid, dissolves the silver, gets the pure gold, and then to recover the silver, once we've used the nitric acid to the point where it's having trouble dissolving the silver, we're using hot dilute nitric, then we just dilute to neutral, I think, wasn't it more like about a 3 or 4?
Yeah.
You actually can see some action starting to happen there. So I think it was at about a pH 4 we stopped and then cemented it from there. And it forms a very useful powder again. Then you just rinse it, dry it, ready to go, ready to recycle. Beautifully simple, very elegant methodology. So we're very happy with that. I don't know why you couldn't do something similar with zinc if you're using aluminum to cement. I think you can also cement the gold onto aluminum also. Yep, that would work, Honey Bunny. But again, it becomes kind of an extra complex step if you don't need to. If you can do it simply, so much the better. So we tried taking the silver and precipitating it with chloride and then smelting it. We had lots of losses and we wound up with a chunk of silver, which we couldn't use. Yes, it needs to be finely divided to begin with, Honey Bunny. He's going to be using it to cement gold out of a leaching solution is the plan. And that's why it wants to be finely divided. Cementation is a reaction where you're basically exchanging. If you look, I have some videos on recovering silver. Let's see, where is that? Let me get a link here. Videos, chink. Where's the silver? Well, if you actually go back to 322, using the wrong materials can get very expensive. That is gold cementing onto stainless steel. And let's see, crank out the gold. Let's see, biggest bead yet. Recycling silver from assay in quartz. Okay. Control C. Back over here. Control P. There. That's how we get our silver back. And depending on the conditions, no, it's actually pretty easy. In most cases, you can just use like a little green scrubby. You're right, Horton 69. I agree completely. It's fantabulous. Horton 69 says, it's awesome that you and Eva both enjoy the same things. Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyhow, it's an elegant system. There's steps and there's systems, and you can have a simple step, but it's not necessarily part of a simple system. You may want to take a different path. And funny, it's from Eco Goldex. Which is from Eco Goldex, Honey Bunny? I presume that's not the one I just posted. Oh, come on. No, that's mine.
Eco Goldex videos.
If you tried to share it here, Honey Bunny, it would not post because you're not a moderator, so you can't post a link here. If you shared it via another method, then that's fine. So I didn't see it. That's why I was wondering.
Just put the title for it too. Tell people where to find it.
Can you see the address, but it's not an active link, Honey Bunny? I don't see any link from you, Honey Bunny. Yeah. Try and post it again, Honey Bunny, and see if it even gives us the address or not, because I don't see it at all, Honey Bunny. No, I do not see it. Now watch this, Honey Bunny. Let's see. Standard moderator. Now they got, okay, now I'll try it. Try it now, Honey Bunny. I just made you a standard moderator. See if that'll work. There you go. Now you've posted a link. Okay. See, you've been promoted. Now you need to buy everyone a drink. Luckily, we're down to 10. Cool. Let me click on this for a second and just, could you pause? Thank you. Okay. Oh, I better not, or I'm going to go to sleep, Honey Bunny. Cheers. Anyhow. Okay, so now you'll notice that your title appears in blue and you got a blue wrench, Honey Bunny. Now you can post links. Oh, all alcohol tastes bad to me. I got to mix it with something else. Yep. Anyhow, so yeah, if you don't have a moderator thing, you can't post an active link. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even see your link. I didn't see the address. You might have seen it. Did anyone else see the inactive link Honey Bunny was posting before her letters turned blue? Okay, yeah, it was on your side only, Honey Bunny. Damn YouTube, so deceptive. If nobody else can see it, it shouldn't allow you to see it. Very, very deceptive.
Oh, that's YouTube for you.
It should basically just have a little error message. You're not authorized to post links. Because even if it was inactive, but it was an address, somebody could always copy and paste. So, I don't know. YouTube keeps changing stuff week after week for no apparent reason. Who knows? Okay, Chris. Let's bet. After I reinforce the the little crane thing and working at the minimum extension, do you think it will pick up safely the shell? And what's the bet? Can't be very much. Safely, no. I'd say when I put an extra 200 pounds on it, it won't bend. That's safely. Okay. It won't bend and nothing will break. That's my basic criteria, because I'm going to be increasing its weight by at least 25%. Yeah, well, sometimes safety has to do with where you're at too. I was helping some guys the other day, and the guy operating the Bobcat kept getting it too close to me when I wasn't looking at it. Now, I don't mind if a person's operating slowly close to me, but not when I'm not watching. One time I turned around and immediately my foot was under the bucket. You know, not a happy time.
Oh, come on, Barry. You don't need that foot anyway. You got a spare.
Well, we'll see. We'll videotape everything, and you can critique Chris and see if you think we need to do something else along with whatever. But we be very careful not to be underneath it, which is just some of the most basic things possible. Say when I pick it up, I'm just going to pick it up a couple inches and then push down. I can actually bounce it a little bit, maybe too. I agree. It's better to be safe than sorry. But I suspect it'll work, but we shall see what we shall see. Now, assuming that I design it, well, we build it the way I've got designed here, can you put some cribbing under it as you move it? Not likely, honey bunny, but we can move it to an area where if it falls, we're on the other side of the machine from it. Because it's like 3 or 4 feet up in the air. Can we slide it over a strong board or blocks? Possibly. I mean, we could build something really, really good if we spent a couple $1,000. There'd be no problem at all. It's a matter of, we're going to use it once every 6 months. You know, you don't want to be spending a whole lot if it's not necessary. I like the idea of running some planks underneath where we're swinging it over to. So we'll swing it over, and that way if it falls that way. I don't know. We'll see how it works. We got some lumber out there. You might be able to put some lumber or some pipe. So, yeah, well, it's not out in an old mine. It's out at the ranch. Different situation. We could look for something. Again, my biggest safety thing is make sure nothing under it that is important if it falls. You know, if it falls on the dirt, it falls on the dirt. It's also easy enough during testing to, rotate it with pull basically. Constrain which direction? Yeah. Then we'd rebuild, we'd build something stronger. Yep. Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea to have somebody videotaping while we do this. Yep. Absolutely. Where's my tripod? It's in bugs.
Yeah.
Can't over-center the center of gravity of the whole mill to the side. Yeah. Good point. Don't think that's going to be an issue at all. The motor is over there. I'm trying to think. We got the skids stick out. Those skids stick out, what, about 8 inches or something on each side?
Yeah, just about.
I think so. So, yeah. No, I understand, Chris. Yeah, if it's even going to try and tip, I wouldn't want to do it, honey bunny. But you got the entire frame will be on the bottom part. That we're just picking up the shell. Okay. The bottom shell weighs as much as the top shell. Then you have a rotor and in there that looks like it weighs several hundred pounds too. These guys that build a Stutenroth do not make skinny stuff,
That's a heavy piece of equipment.
I say there's a whole lot of stuff. We could spend $500 and take a frickin' bobcat over there just to pick it up and set it on the ground, and then take the bobcat back. And every time we needed to go over there, we get another bobcat, $500. We are bolting it to a giant piece of steel that's bolted to the entire frame of the whole thing of big channel iron. It's solid. Okay. I say what it's going to be attached to is solid. Say the idea of just laying a couple of planks across there to set it on if needed, fine. But I say I'm planning on pushing it away from me over to the other side of the machine, and I can do that with a stick if I needed to just get a little hard, or just get a rope to pivot it. And I say, we shall see. Yeah, so I can get inside safely. It's got a 23-inch arm. That's it. All I got to do is get 23 inches from the point where I want to put the pivot to the point where the, what do you call it? The center of the upper clamshell, shouldn't be a problem to accomplish that. Oh no, it's that far. Literally, it's that far. It's all I need to do. That's it. Done. Yeah, it should, Chris. I measured it. Say it's like 23 and a half inches. It's all it's got to be stuck out. Once I get the thing out there and we get the hopper off, then I'll maneuver it to center the end of the arm over the lift point. How far does it need to lift to clear the rotor? 6 inches. Another thing we could theoretically do is just pick it straight up and put some blocks under there, but then it's a lot harder to work on the rotor. I say it's really just not a whole lot of stuff. So I say we shall see, but I mean, there's very little leverage. And I say, as a backup plan, it's, I'll pull on stuff and see if it bends. If it does, we'll pull the side plates, pull out all the wear bars, spend the extra hour, no problem. I was planning on building something similar out of steel, good quarter-inch wall stuff and everything. Just the basic steel was $240. Zero fabrication time, zero anything. Just $240. So let's say we shall see. I'm pretty confident it'll be strong enough. We shall see. But once we put it in place again, we'll just pick it up, see if it does anything. Can you get that same steel from a salvage yard? Not in Helena. We have a saying in Helena, honey bunny. It's Helena. The only salvage yard in Helena is the same steel company.
Is it really?
We may be the capital of Montana, but it's only like 30,000 people.
On a good day.
And Great Falls is got more industrial stuff, etc. There's like 100,000. And we got Missoula 100 miles that way, and we got Bozeman 100 miles that way, and Billings 250 miles that way. All of those are more like 100,000 people. The entire state of Montana has about 1 million people is all. Honey Bunny says there aren't 30,000 people within 100 miles of me, and we have like 20-something salvagers. Virtually every ranch or farm out here has a back 40 that's got a bunch of stuff on it. Well, you also have to understand that whatever we do, I mean, we could use an engine hoist, except it's all dirt. Okay? And so you'd need to build a platform to roll the engine hoist on. I say there's all kinds of ways you can play this game, but I say we shall see. Anyhow, where do you think it's going to bend if it does bend? Are you saying everywhere? Anchor to the base of the mill? It's good, solid structural members all the way to the base of the mill. Okay? I say it's this mill is basically a solid chunk of steel. It's stout. That's where we think, Lauren and I also agree that that's what looks to be the weak point. That's my assumption, that is the failure point. Everything else looks to be stronger in this application. My next possibility of failure point, they have some little gusseting there. If we need to start adding stuff, we'll find out. Again, when we start picking it up, we'll yank and jerk and everything, and if it doesn't bend, it's fine. If it does bend, we lighten the load, get the job done, then unbolt the damn crane and take it back for modifications too. Okay, Chris. Okay, Paul. I need something I can set up and tear down in a half an hour and do it all by myself, or else it would be better to just build a sturdier crane. You know, it's kind of like you have a floor jack you can take with your car fairly easily, but you don't have a crane to pick up your car to change a spare tire because it's a spare tire, you know? I say, this mill took me 4 hours to move 30 feet, maybe 40 feet. I think it was about 30 feet.
Yeah, it was on 30.
You know, just prying it with a big bar, moving it a few inches at a time. It is a beast, you know.
Yeah.
Cherry picker, well, you'd have to have a truck with a cherry picker. Again, if you have a spare tire, I mean, if you have a flat tire, do you want to have someone bring a cherry picker? No, you want to have it with you at all times. You know? No, honey bunny, I can't because I have a hopper that fits there. You know? The hopper hangs on by 2 bolts. Take the 2 bolts, take the hopper off. Boom. Put a couple eye bolts in where the holes are. Pick it up. You know? Say there's all kinds of stuff that would work fine. Except it adds a lot of expense and a whole nother something that you have to have. A truck with a cherry picker. What is the cost of that? What is the maintenance on that? Is it just going to sit out there at the ranch 12 months out of the year, fire it up once and do it? You know, it's like, no. Say an integral crane makes the most sense. The question is this strong enough? And I think we can find that out pretty darn quickly. Say it shouldn't be too hard to find out. And in terms of the arm, there's a hydraulic jack that goes out half the distance of the arm. So there's a diagonal brace right there. The arm is in 2 sections, an inner one and an outer one, and it's designed to extend so that you can get almost twice the distance, at which point it says 500-pound load rating. Okay, I don't necessarily trust it. But at full compression, you know, you bring it all the way in, and that pin says 1,000 pound. Okay, and I say, it seems like reinforcing the post should, you know, make things strong enough. Now, we may need more gusseting or something like that, but I say we'll see. We'll play it careful. But, you know, it's like SpaceX. Nobody got hurt. They tore the hell out of a pad. They sent concrete flying a quarter mile. Nobody got hurt. You know? And so, say we shall see. If that's the failure point, we should be able to, you know, reinforce the post. I mean, we could always take another piece of tubing inside the whole post to reinforce everything if we had another issue. We can put bigger gussets on the base. The gussets that they put on there, I think, were kind of wimpy considering the size tubing they were using. It's like, okay, if you're going to try and save money on tubing, you should use bigger gussets. Just a thought. You know, either that or just a beast of a tube. You know, I say, it's Harbor Freight. You can't tell, but we shall see. I say, we have a plan to test it safely and then do it. Now, something like, will the cable break? Wouldn't think so. It's like, I don't know, 3/16 steel cable. Even low strength cable should have more strength than that. Aircraft cable,
Well,
of
I
course,
just
would be
don't
a
like
lot
the way
more.
it winds.
What, with a little hand cranky thingy?
With the fact that it doesn't lay the way nice and neatly on the
Well,
spool.
it's not under tension when it was wound. Yeah, it doesn't have a level wind clamp sort of thing like a good what do you call it? Come along does. It's got a thing over there that keeps that cable winding smoothly. It doesn't have anything like that. Okay. It's just a standard, like a trailer winch. And uh, theoretically, once we've got the tension on it, we can either crank or we can use the hydraulic jack. And if you use the hydraulic jack, it's actually going to swing it in towards the base too. So you're going to lose leverage if you jack it up. So that again, we'll take a look. We'll be very, very careful how we do this. And have it set up without anything. If it breaks, nobody's going to get hurt. That sort of deal. I do like the idea of putting the planks across there so that we can just swing it over and set it down on the planks if we want to, or at least it'll catch it. But I say it shouldn't be a big deal. Right now, my the thing that I think is probably the weakest part of the whole system at the moment is going to be the eyes. I'm going to have Lauren weld the eyes on the bolts, and I hope I got the right size bolts. I think they're 3/8 bolts. So I got 3/8 eye bolts, but they're not lifting eye bolts. So I may have to actually go out there and find. Does anyone know what the tensile strength on and I'm talking the threads of the eye bolts would be? Because I can weld the eyes shut, to keep them from opening up, but cheap, honey bunny. I'm sure grade 3 at best. I'm not sure where to get lifting eyes. Does anyone know where you would normally get lifting eyes? Because yeah, I'm not talking the steel, honey bunny. I'm talking about the threads. Okay, how do you attach the chain to the big steel casing? Okay. Harbor Freight should have some, possibly. I'm pretty sure that the bolts were 3/8 thread because I was using my little, impact with a socket on there, but I mean the biggest socket I got is a 3/4 inch. So yeah. Let's see. Well, the problem is the housing is only a 1/4 inch thick, so you'd pretty much want to run it through the housing and then put bolts on the other sides. Let's see. Let's try something here. Let's go to Home Depot. Just for jollies. Let's see what they got in the way of eye bolts.
Did you ever get a text message from Verizon?
Yes.
Okay. In the after.
Yes, little one. Okay. I got 1/2-inch lifting eyes. They got 3/4-inch lifting eye that says that doesn't look like a 3/4-inch solid eye. 1/2-inch, 13, 8-inch forged steel hot dip galvanized eye bolt. That's a closed eye. What's this? 1/2 13 forged steel machinery eye bolt. Well, they got the 1/2-inch 13 thread. I don't think that's what I've got. Let's see. Close that. Close this. I have 2 holes. I have 2 bolt holes at the top that normally hold the hopper on. They're drilled and tapped. And I plan to take those bolts out, take the hopper off, and then I got 2 holes to hook some eye bolts in. And then I need a short piece of chain and a couple of hooks, and I should be in pretty good shape. Let's try Ace Hardware. They often have a greater selection of oddball stuff than Home Depot. Eye bolts. Hello, what are you doing? Yes, I tried to get you to eye bolts. Thank you. Well, wonderful. So this is a classic case. We found 254 results for eye bolts. It starts out with Campbell 1/2-inch zinc-plated iron eye bolt snap. Next is Campbell 5/8-inch polished bronze round swivel eye bolt. That's not an eye bolt, that's an eye snap. Jesus. Then there's an eye hook or a hook screw. They've got the regular eye bolts, 300. Let's get a little thing. 3/8 inch eye bolts. Try that. Oh, I hate these things. Again, I got a bunch of snaps. Storm Shine steel eye bolt? Whatever the hell Storm Shine. See, they got these snaps. Bronze snaps. Storm Shine steel eye bolt. 160 pound. Okay, well, that's not near enough. Let's see. Add a couple of chain segments to the side so you can use clevis hooks.
Yeah, honey bunny. That's perfectly legit. Just bolt the chain straight on there. Yeah. Or just some slotted steel pieces gusseted to the side and drop the chain in the slots. Problem with this, you got rotating parts inside the housing, and so you don't want something to stick in there. Try lifting eye. That's a good point. Take care, Paul. Yeah, well, the boss doesn't want to weld nothing to nothing. Okay? I'm not afraid to weld something to it. I think he wants to keep it factory. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking at, Honey Bunny. Yep. Let's see. Lifting eye. Let's try that at Ace. Helps if I get the right letters. You might be right there, Chris. Why does this stupid piece of crap thing, LIFTING, insist on doing stuff when I'm putting something in the damn search thing? Well, Ace doesn't have lifting eyes. I like the idea of just bolting chain to the thing with just grade 8 bolts. I mean, that's going to work. Yeah, that would work, Chris. Yeah, you could just rotate, bring it up, and you could even run the bolts. Well, I hate to do that, though, because then if you drop them, bad things will happen. Yeah, I like the bolting of the chain thing because, like you say, with grade 8 bolts, yeah, that's not going to go. Put some, get the right size bolt, some washers, and then just bolt that to the top there, and then have enough chain so it's not in a bind. You don't want it tight across. You want it to go up like that. That should work pretty well. Yeah, I think you guys are right. I think probably just bolting through the chain should be the best thing. Chain plus bolts. Yeah, I think that would be. Yes, Chris, I can get to the bolt holes from the inside once the hopper is removed. And it's likely that if you were to drop a bolt, it would probably go past the rotor into the outlet hole, so it wouldn't be inside jamming crap up. It seems likely to me that it would be a perfectly serviceable method. Just wear magnetic gloves. Smart alecket. Yeah, Chris. I see what you're saying. I'm more thinking that unless you get a high strength chain, the chain's now going to be your weak point. Though. Either that or you're going to bend the housing. I'm not sure what that's made out of. At best, it's a T1, I'm sure. It's not designed for much wear. I suspect it's just standard plate, and the wear bars are there to deal with all that. Yeah, that should work just fine. Because I'm thinking instead of just threading it through, you'd thread it through and then put a grade 8 nut on the other side. Yeah, I agree. You're going to need the washers on there to grip the chain properly. On the other hand, with Chris's idea, as he says, the chain is now in shear instead of tension, so the washers would no longer be nearly as critical a load-bearing point if the chain went underneath. So if here's the top of the housing here, and it's got a hole in it of these sides. They're like 3/4 inch sides, drilled and tapped. Then you could take and put your chain through here, put the bolt through the housing, nut and washer here, and a couple washers here. And then, this link comes out to here, and the next link will go through it and go this way. There will be a little bit of tension on that instead of shear, but as opposed to having your chain up here and your next link like that, bolt here, your load is really being carried by these washers there. So yeah, I think that would work pretty well. And just to get a 3/8 bolt through it, you're going to need, like 3/8 chain or something. True, Chris. Or even a piece of angle iron would probably be better, or channel. Channel would work great. Yeah. Okay. We'll make it work one way or another there. But yeah, I like that idea for the hoisting part. That's going to be a lot stronger than eye bolts. Yeah, that should work good. Oh, I hope so. Of course, first casualty of battle is the battle plan. So we shall see what we shall see. Okay, well, we'll get this. Hopefully, we'll get the crane reinforced tomorrow. Get the bolts for that, because those are gonna be pure tension on the base plate on one side. But I should be able to drill through both, depending on the spacing I need. I should be able to bolt through the mounting plate and the mainframe. So be super strong there. Yeah, I think it should all work. I just don't want, I really don't want to spend too much time with my brother over here doing stuff like this instead of going out fishing, but we'll see how good the fishing is too. You know? So we shall see what we shall see. We got Wednesday, oh, at least half a day out there at the ranch. If things go smoothly, maybe just that. And then we can maybe go fishing in the afternoon. I like to go by the dam, and I don't think the personnel operating the dam would be happy. Okay, I'll try and remember there, Chris. Call Chris. Uh, yeah, I don't know how well it would work below Hauser Dam there because there's such a current. But I suppose if you were to go downstream below the marker cable and go to the riffles, you might catch them as they wash up on the riffles. No, not sure. The holes are only like 3/8 diameter, so any cable would be too small and going over sharp corners. They're threaded, so there's no way you could avoid that. So no, that's not going to work. You could use a cable with eye bolts, but then we just went through all that issue with the eye bolts. Oh. And then well, another potential issue is when you pick it up, the end of the cable has a slip hook on it, and it'd be better to have a grab hook when you were snatching onto chain so that the chain can't go through it. Oh. I'm going to have to go to the restroom, people. I'll be right back. Oh. Forged eye bolts would be one way to go. It shouldn't. It should have so much friction. It's not going to do too much unless you really push something somewhere.
Ron Levin and Tucker Carlson hired the same lawyer after ousters, according to Forbes.
Well, it's according to Forbes.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to find out.
It might be the world's best lawyer in that field, too.
Well, that's what I'm about to find out.
Oh, I am Shaggy. I always have a good one here. But
Who is Brian Friedman, Don Lemon, and Tucker Carlson hired the same lawyer.
Okay.
Reportedly, both have reportedly tapped high-powered entertainment lawyer Brian Friedman to represent them following their sudden departures Monday, turning to an attorney known for aggressively representing A-list clients. In a sign, the two polarizing figures might pursue legal action against their own network.
I would think so.
Force the companies to pay up.
I think the pay up part. Have you gotten your fire assays back yet, Keith? Which particular fire assays, honey? We don't have any in process at the moment. So, in answer to your question, kind of, sort of, yeah, but I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about. Eva is going to be experimenting with fire assaying some ores.
Oh man, he has done a lot. This guy is a power lawyer.
He is the badass.
He's a legal.
I'm not sure. See, a couple weeks ago, let's see what videos I had up. Click. Is that the saving money with crucipels thing? Yeah, Eva's going to be doing some fire assaying. We have samples that we took last year. Basically, they're, as we're crushing.
Box closed down 2%
Okay.
on Monday.
As we're pulverizing all the rock to throw into the tank, we're keeping a sample. We have a little port that is the crushed stuff goes over the port. We take a sample there, then we split that down, and we were taking those samples and sending them off for fire assay. And even and so we you know, we've got a split of that. We're even taking those samples on the ones we hadn't fire assay because we were solution assaying, but we never fire assayed them because we're trying to save a little money. And but we do have, I don't know, between half a dozen and a dozen samples that are well blended that we have a fire assay for, which Eva can test her techniques on and make sure they can, you know, that everything's working reasonably well and we're getting reasonably good numbers. And the issue is going to be, we're going to be dealing with some extraordinarily small beads compared to what we've been doing with the resin. I mean, with the resin, we're looking in percentage points. Whereas, I mean, a normal resin bead, I mean, a resin assay would come back with a bead, what, 0.3 grams?
Yeah.
0.3. And we're looking at, well, we're looking at wanting, you're going to be able to do half assay ton samples, little one?
I'm going to be splitting my 1 assay ton sample into 4 1/4 assay tons.
Okay, so you're doing quarter assay ton samples. At quarter assay ton, a 1/10 of an ounce to the ton, which would be a significant number here, is going to be 20 milligrams, which should be within our weighing capacity without too much trouble.
Just barely.
Well, you're the one that wants to split it. I'm just saying, what can you put in a crucible? You said you're going to be.
I can only do a 1/4 ton at a time.
That's fine. That's what I'm saying. So your individual beads, if it was a 1/10 of an ounce to the ton, would be 0.0207 milligrams. We have a scale that'll measure, you know, maybe a few milligrams, but that's, an order of magnitude above detection limit. So it'd be fairly close. Theoretically, we should be able to weigh these. We can also optically check them and then correlate them to this chart here. Okay, Chris, take care. Well, we've got a scale that theoretically will measure to the milligram. So I thought with an assay ton, 1 milligram equals 1 ounce to the ton. But that's not what he's got written here. 1 assay ton, 1 milligram. Oh, those are milligrams. Oh, sorry. 0.02 milligrams. Okay. So we're going to have to go optical. There's just no way around it. At 1 ounce to the ton, we're looking at a bead with a diameter of 4 thousandths of an inch. Okay. Yeah. So, we're looking at 0.004, 0.005 inches. And see, that's the problem. We're dealing with little teeny beads, less than 1/100th of an inch across. And that's going to be the challenge as I see it from the fire assay, is dealing with those little beads. But Eva should be able to do a fire assay for probably, I don't know, what, $5 in materials?
Or less.
Yeah. Well, I don't.
And by the way, I still want to go onto Legends website and look at getting some annealing cups.
Yeah. We don't have a micrometer, but we do have this.
Because my actual plan is to do the 4 assays and then combine the parting debris, put the 4 beads together, part them together, and anneal them into a single bead.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I say we'll try stuff and we'll figure it out just like we've done so far. Yeah, this is a little pen microscope. It's 30 power, 40 power? 40 power. And it's got a reticle. The smallest division is 1,000th of an inch. So that's what we're going to have to be using to measure our beads. We can't weigh them because they're going to be way too small. And we'll see how that works. And also, cross-contamination is a potential issue. So I don't know how well this is going to work because of cross-contamination. We'll have to see. I mean, Eva's pretty good at keeping her crucibles clean, but she's using resin, which has a relatively limited and steady number of cross-contaminant, of other contaminants. I'm not sure how well rock.
My assays are only going to be done in my assay crucibles. They are not being done with the others.
That's fine. How much is not going to come out of them?
That's what I'm going to be working on.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
I'm also going to work on the method for using my slag that I store to clean them in between assays.
Yeah, we shall see.
Get out the
we will have to test all this and see how well it works. We're not using the ideal equipment for this job. Ideal equipment would be a much bigger furnace, big crucibles that can do 1 ounce to the ton.
Well, according to the book, the crucibles can be reused many times. So,
according to the book, we'll see what actually happens in real life.
There's a lot of things you can read in a book. But anyhow, Chris Georgie says one time you saw it. Absolutely right. We don't know. We
Oh,
will
you've got to
find
be
out.
kidding me.
What, little one?
Politico is saying Fox is the star, not its host. Carlson is as replaceable as the members of the bubblegum group the Archies, as interchangeable as the actors who have played James Bond, and as expendable as the gifted musicians who played lead guitar for the Yardbirds.
Who is this?
Politico apparently said this.
Politico. Yeah. As
Well, let me put it this way. James Bond actors were not interchangeable. Everybody knows Roger Moore is the real James Bond, period, end of story. And no, the gifted musicians who played lead guitar for the Yardbirds were not interchangeable either.
anyhow, yeah, that's going to be funny. Yeah, I think they have kind of magical thinking. If we say it, it will happen. It's like, no, reality has a say.
AOC is still taking a victory lap and claiming it happened because of her and Schumer.
Well, good. Then when Fox News is gone, she'll be taking a victory lap for that. Then when something more powerful and more conservative shows up, then it's like, yeah, be careful what you wish for. Pretty much, honey bunny. Yeah, Shaggy. But yeah, that's the thing. Is there's a site called Conservative Treehouse, and they had a commentary from Sundance, who's the boss, and he basically says, yeah, they're out to destroy everything so that they can build it back better. What they don't realize is they don't build anything. We do. We will build it back better. Better in our thing. Hey, Scotty, you're late. We're basically just about done here. Quick recap. The KD3 thing, looks like we got solutions, but big thing this week is going to be working on crushers. And we have been diligently discussing options in terms of stuff, in terms of basically for dismantling the Stutenroth to where we can dismantle it easily on site and take out the parts we need to work on. So that's been a very productive conversation here in the latter part. We will see how well it works in real life. I'll get video. We shall see what we shall see. In the meantime, that's about it, as I can see. Does anyone else have any questions or suggestions or anything? I really appreciate all your help on all these things, folks. Every time I run into a problem I can't figure out, somebody else gives me the information I need to bust down that brick wall. Sometimes it takes a little bit of my head too, but say if it wasn't for all the help, I couldn't get this done. I really appreciate it. So do I, honey bunny, but as long as nobody gets hurt, this is so stout. I mean, you can drop these parts on the ground and they're not going to get damaged. It's just not going to happen. They're just too, I say the thinnest thing you've got in terms of actual structural is 1/4-inch steel plate. The cover plates are like 1/8-inch steel. Those are just the little retaining plates. It's some pretty stout construction. So it's just a matter of, can we pick it up safely? And I do not like being under anything suspended. That's one of the things I was thoroughly trained on, was you try and avoid being underneath a suspended load. Even if it's supposedly suspended in a very safe manner. Um, you know, it's just, it's not a phobia, but yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, I just prefer not to be under something. Most of the stuff we use, like, you know, loaders isn't man rated for that. Um, but we sometimes used them for that. So you just try and put yourself in a position where if something doesn't go properly, nobody's going to get hurt. You know, the steel doesn't bend that easy. The flesh, different story. So yeah, we'll be pretty careful. And I really like that chain option. You know, that sounds like an excellent option for this. And so we'll try that. And I say then we'll see exactly what the reach is on that um, little mini crane and see where to position the base. Oh yeah. In the contest between cold steel and warm flesh, cold steel wins every single time. No exceptions. You know? But yeah, we should be able to do this safely. And say I really appreciate the help, because that whole idea with the chain is a lot better than iffy lifting eyes. Say especially, say we were going to have to put nuts on them anyway on the other side, because that housing. I mean, a 1/4 inch mild steel plate threaded. Yeah, how strong is that in tension? Anyhow, do you anybody got any questions or anything at this point? Any comments? Oh. Oh. Well, I'm not seeing anything showing up, although with the lag we sometimes get, who knows? You're out of meaningful things to say. Well, thank you for everything anyhow. I've still got that thing on the zinc for Eco Goldex queued up. So I'll have to check that out. So you guys take care and happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.